We are back, Sports with Rich, on Wednesday night, not Tuesday night this
Yep.
week. We were covering all the baseball postseason. We will get to it, but Wednesday night this week, I gave Rich Mancuso the week off. Tonight, I will be having my co-host, new co-host. We'll have him in and out week by week.
Yep.
Jason Schott from Brooklyn Digest. How are you, Jason?
Pretty good, Robert. Thanks for the invite, and thank you to Rich for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. And throughout the show, we're going to have a great show and discuss everything going on. MLB postseason, NFL, boxing, WWE, you name it, we're going to talk about it, honestly.
Oh, absolutely.
And following next week, we're going to be back Tuesday night, depending on the postseason schedule, and we'll update you week by week with what's going on. And we'll catch up on social media with everything. Follow me, all my content on Latino Sports, my Twitter, RobertRiz994, Instagram, rrizzo4, Facebook, Robert Rizzo. And where can everyone catch you, Jason?
On Instagram at BK Digest.
Awesome. And Facebook?
Facebook, just my name.
Perfect. And catch all the content for you on Brooklyn Digest.
Yep, brooklyndigest.org.
Awesome. No, you write awesome work, awesome stats. I tune into it all the time, and you guys got to tune into it. So let's get right to it. Yankee Stadium last night was a madhouse. Over 47,000 fans. Standing room only tickets were going for over $120. Grandstand tickets, it seemed like there wasn't a seat empty in the whole house. And even the press box, you couldn't get a seat. I was in the workroom with Rich the whole time. We're watching the TVs one by one. It's insane. But playoff atmosphere, you can't beat it, honestly. It's the first playoff game Yankee Stadium experienced since what, 2019?
2019. That's something they don't want to hide that, I'll tell you that, but it's true. Because 2 years ago was the bubble, and then last year they played that one game in Boston. That was it.
That was it. And Yankee fans have been waiting for that moment, and it was a blackout to begin with. They dimmed down the lights. They had Nick Swisher in the field raising the Yankee flag. I actually liked it, and it was an intimidating atmosphere for a young baseball team like the Cleveland Guardians. But we'll get into the Yankees Guardians series for sure. But that atmosphere, we had to talk about it and started off with that.
Oh, absolutely. You could tell those fans were ready to go. And, I mean, they could sense early that third inning was a real hinge. Cleveland could have really blown it open right there, and they didn't. And then, Harrison Bader, the home run, and then off they went. And Cleveland really didn't threaten from that point on.
No, definitely. And there were multiple sparks led by the Yankees offense and especially the defense. We'll talk about it. But Harrison Bader, like you said, the hometown kid, Bronxville, New York, they traded him over in August for Jordan Montgomery. It was a lot of criticism going into it. He returned from the foot injury, and now he's lighting it up right from the beginning. September 20th was his debut. And since then, you've seen that energy and that spark in the Yankees clubhouse.
Yeah, I got 3 RBIs that debut night. I was there. That was when Judge hit his 60th.
Wow. See, you're there every night, honestly. Citi Field, Yankee Stadium, you pick it. But let's start off with the Cleveland and Yankees series. Last night, 4-1, we started off with that. Gerrit Cole was sensational, 6.1 innings. He only had that one fallout with the Stephen Kwan home run. We've seen it all season. His one issue is the home run ball, and you've been saying it with the four-seam fastball, especially. What's your concern with Gerrit Cole moving forward? Because in the ALDS career-wise, he's 5-0 with a 1.56 ERA.
Well, I mean, you look who they play in the LDS. I mean, and then frankly, I'd worked that game in Boston last year somewhere in that. I mean, he only lasted like 3 innings up there. Yanks were never really in that game. I think since he came in 20, they played the equivalent round against Cleveland. Interesting, the wild card round, because they had to play that 2 years ago with the pandemic. They had to somehow make up for only playing 60 games. So they've played Cleveland very recently in the playoffs. Cleveland was never in that series, even though the 2 games were at home, but there was nobody there. So, you can't put any stock in those games. I mean, I think Cleveland, the day off today will help. That screws the Yankees up tremendously, especially if they get rained out tomorrow night. You're going to have no momentum off that game last night. And Terry, the advantage of managers is insane how much Terry Francona has on Boone. I mean, Boone's good, but that's just it. He's good. Terry Francona has 2 rings. He's excellent. He's been through there before. And I mean, if they don't play till Friday afternoon, Tuesday may as well be last year, And I mean, Cleveland, and then even you look, Cleveland hasn't been there since April. They haven't been in that building in 6 months,
And the last time they were there, it was the Yankee Stadium incident with Miles Straw. Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up. Miles Straw brought it up in post-game how it affected the team that they had the 1 day break going into the ALDS compared to the bullpen and pitching. It benefited them for Cleveland, but the players, the outfielders, they're used to that momentum playing every day, and we'll talk about that compared to the number 1 and 2 seeds getting those 5 days off compared to the wild card teams that have that momentum.
Oh, easily. That's a good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that later for sure. That was a factor yesterday.
Oh yeah, for sure. But my next point with the Yankees, Aaron Judge, he went 0 for 3 with 1 walk yesterday. No big deal because the Yankees won, obviously. They were working the corner on him, specifically the outside corner on sliders with Cal Quadrille as the starter.
Quantrill, yeah. His dad pitched for the Yankees 20 years ago.
Ah, good point. No, I didn't catch the broadcast but I heard a lot about the broadcast for sure. But they were talking a lot about Cleveland, not a lot about the Yankees, but national broadcast. What do you expect?
I think people don't know about Cleveland. I think that's probably why they went heavily on them. Everybody knows the Yankees. Everybody, of course, the nation was captivated by Judge, or at least they like to think the nation was captivated by Judge. I mean, there's not much to tell. I mean, I think the most compelling thing, if I can jump to it, about the Yankees is just how bad or unpredictable this bullpen is. I mean, I was racking my brain thinking, when was the last time that a bullpen this unpredictable going into a postseason? I don't want to say they're bad. That's not fair. We'll see how it plays out. And these guys have shown enough that they could step up to the moment. But I was thinking, like, if they played out the 94 season, when Buck was the manager over there and they had won 70 games, and of course that season got wiped out by the strike, that bullpen was very unpredictable. At one time I did a piece on the 94 team a few years ago. It was the 25th anniversary, and how really the dynasty should have begun with that team. And it's like, I was looking at the save numbers. I think Bob Wickman led with 8 saves. I mean, it was it wasn't – they were good, but there wasn't like that.
There wasn't that number one guy.
No, this is pre-Rivera. He showed up the next year, pre-John Wetland. If they played that playoffs out, and especially the way Buck is with bullpens in the playoffs, who knows how it would have gone,
No, definitely. And it's funny because there's no in-between. It's either you have that main guy or – it's funny. People say closer by committee, but the Yankees this year, I feel like it's bullpen by committee because you don't have a number 2 and number 3 guy. But honestly, what I saw last night out of Loaisiga, and since the beginning of September, his last 15 outings, I believe, 1.72 ERA, and he's had that playoff experience before. He's pitched under the bright lights. I believe he can be that go-to along with Wandy Peralta. But like you said, it's going to have to come with momentum, and the more appearances they do, the better they'll get.
Right. And I mean, it may take a surprise like Jameson Taillon could really, that's a sleeper to me. That could be something that they think about, if not this round, or it may come to in this round. Who knows? Who knows what Cortez can give them next time if they have to burn through that bullpen game too. Taillon could be one. I think he seems pretty steely. He's not the most exciting guy, but that's what you want. You want a guy that's not going to be really shrink in the moment. He could do look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia has, everyone acknowledges they have a horrible bullpen. They don't even hide it. The team that sells it, they have Zach Eflin closing,
Yeah.
So it could take something creative like that.
Yeah, and if you told me Eflin was closing in April, I wouldn't believe you at all. But it's just it's funny things that we see in the postseason. But my next point, going on the Cleveland side, now the one threat on offense specifically, obviously we can go down the list: Eddie Rosario, Ahmed Rosario, Andres Jimenez, but the main guy is Jose Ramirez. Honestly, 280 batting average, 29 homers, 106 ribbies. We can go down the list with the stats. But Cortez versus Bieber for game 2, specifically Cortez versus Ramirez, 0 for 7 against Cortez with 4 strikeouts. So that would be a key matchup to zone in on, especially in the first inning.
Definitely. Ramirez, I think at this point, is probably the only guy left from that 16 World Series team. So, I mean, they were smart in who they kept, and they gave him a long-term deal to start the year. It was kind of a statement because coming into the year, it really looked like they were going to be terrible. It looked like it was going to be all White Sox and Twins in that division. Then when they signed him, I mean, it kind of gave the team a jolt. And also, of course, when you have a Terry Francona, I mean, Terry won 95 to 100 with a lot of Boston teams in late zeros that weren't great teams, but they just found a way to always win. And you see what Boston's been like ever since he left. They've won 2 World Championships since he's left, but a lot of last place finishes. Terry Francona teams don't finish last,
Yeah, no, they never finish last, and it feels like they're always in the hunt if they're not in the playoffs. They're always in it to the end, and like you said, a young team, I believe this is the youngest team in baseball, to go into that atmosphere at Yankee Stadium last night. I'm not saying it was a lock that the Yankees would win, but that's a huge challenge for a young team that coming off a big series win at home in Cleveland. And going back to that whole series, they have in the postseason alone, they have 4 runs scored in the 33 innings played.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
true.
all based on home runs. So with the playoff baseball, you have to have a certain blend of getting the rallies, the singles, the walks, the doubles, sack bunts here and there, but along with the home run ball. And right now, we're only seeing the home run ball with Cleveland. They're not getting on base at a rapid rate like they were in the beginning and in the middle of the season.
Yeah, third inning was so concerning because they got the home run to lead off. Then they load the bases, and they load the bases because there was that dribbler, and Rosario alertly went back to third. That was a very good play. And they load the base, but then the next hit, basically right to Donaldson, he threw home, got Rosario out, and that was it. They didn't, no sac fly, no nothing. They only got that one run. That was the turning point of the game.
Yeah, that was a huge turning point of the game. Donaldson hitting the opposite field, what made to believe a home run. I thought it was a home run there, but when it bounced back, I thought it hit a chair, honestly, in the crowd. But I had no idea. And along with the crowd intensity, the play Oswaldo Cabrera made in left field. What a sensational play for a 23-year-old. It feels like he's playing a different position every single game. And for him to be that young, making an impact on this playoff team, it just speaks for itself how much talent this kid has, and we'll see in the coming years.
It's amazing. Think when they brought him up in mid August, and it was with Estevan Florial, and it was all the attention was on Florial. They even put Florial's picture in the pregame videos. They were that high on this guy. He lasted about a week or two, and then they called him up about 3 or 4 other times, tried to get a spark, nothing, and then this guy just comes up. Like, well, we didn't think much of him, but he's really turned it up, and he's been unbelievable. He's been the late season MVP in a lot of ways.
No, for sure. That energy spark, the impact immediately. He became the first Yankee in franchise history to play 4 separate positions in his first 6 games in the big leagues. That's an incredible stat in its own.
Oh, yeah. And he doesn't feel like a utility player because wherever they put him, he does the job. It's not like, like when they tried Miguel Andujar and left a few years ago, it was laughable.
Oh, yeah.
I have as good a shot catching those fly balls,
Now, let's get back to the other side of New York, the tough side right now, especially in the last 5 days, the New York Mets and what happened at Citi Field this weekend against the San Diego Padres.
Heartbreaking. There's no other word to describe it.
You started off on the perfect note, heartbreaking, because 101 win season right down the drain, honestly, because this is what they were expecting to start the Dodger series last night in Los Angeles, and for them to go 1-2 with their top 3 guns against the Padres, let alone, we'll forget about the Atlanta series for a sec, 1-2 with the top 3 guys. That's major concern going down the line. And Jacob deGrom might not be here next season. So Scherzer at 39 years old. Bassett might not be here next year, looming with the free agency mutual option. So this team could and will look a lot different going into 2023.
Yeah, and it's sad. I mean, somebody asked Joel Sherman. I would say who it was. Joel Sherman asked Buck about that after the game, and Buck denied it. But that's the reality, and it's very sad. What a great team this was. I mean, if this team won the World Series, these guys would be revered as 686. I mean, the fans love this team. It brought people like me who really had been disenchanted with the Mets for years, even though I covered them, just really didn't like the teams. Like I didn't like the 15 team, for example. Whereas I really loved watching this team. I mean, Keith Hernandez said it too. Even when they retired Keith's number, he said, I want to credit these guys. He took time in his retirement speech to say, this group, this is like, I love watching the way these guys play. And you're not guaranteed if you get in different guys, maybe they don't buy into the way Buck plays. Maybe they don't buy into a traditional style of baseball. So it's very scary. And ultimately, to me, I'm very scared when you think how the San Francisco Giants won 107 games this year and they won 81 this year. And that was 81. Yeah. They won 12 of their final 16 to win 81. If they don't do that, they win 76. They win 30 games less.
No, and
that's terrifying.
And especially with Braves, the way they are, they're re-signing guys left and right. The Phillies, major spark, as we'll talk about. The division's only getting stronger from here, and this was a major opportunity for the Mets, honestly, with what they had coming in. Honestly, 2 weeks ago, they had the division lead going into Atlanta, and everything changes just like that. That's why postseason baseball specifically is the best part of sports, in my opinion.
You're right.
It's so unpredictable.
And baseball, look, I'm going to round back to what I'm really going to say. I'm going to say that basically the problem with baseball now is letting 6 teams in. Okay, 6 teams a league. It's less than like hockey, the 8 conference in. But they've become any other sport where if the Phillies beat the Braves, it's just so disheartening that they beat a 101 win team. See a 101 win team and the Mets already gone. It kind of invalidates the regular season. Baseball, the regular season used to mean a lot, you know?
Yeah. And going back to the Padres Mets specifically, as much as we could talk about the pitching, it was the offense all weekend. 8 runs scored versus the Padres, and since we'll talk about the Braves series, 7 runs scored versus the Braves. So count those as playoff games. 15 runs in your postseason in those 6 games. It's not winning baseball, and no matter how tough your pitching is, 1 run, 2-run ball, you're not going to come out of that night with a W.
You can even go back the Tuesday night, 15 days ago. They lost to the Marlins. One of the many losses in September against bad teams. That's where the division was lost. But then the next night, we were there. They were down 4-0. Escobar's 2-run homer. Okay, 4-2, fine. Then ties the game in the 8th. Gets right back up there, ties, and then they win in the 9th. So Escobar got all 5 hours. They win the game. Atlanta then blew one of the rare games they blew. Winnable games to Washington. So the Mets went down to Atlanta up 1, and it really did feel kind of like the Mets were on borrowed time. And I mean, if they did the right things in September, I mean, they went 9-7 on a stretch against in 16 games against bad teams. They went 9-7. You just take 3 of those. You flip 3 of those, they go 12-4, which 12-4 is what you probably would expect. I mean, you would like 14-2 or 15-1. 12-4 should have been what they should have done, and that would have given them 3 more wins going to Atlanta. They go up there, they go down there 4. You kind of don't. That series doesn't mean nearly as much at all. And then also, if you go down there up 3 or 4, guess what? The heat's on the Braves. Because they only went down there up 1, and the Mets were kind of like the ones being chased. It's tired to be the ones that are tiring being the ones that are chased. And since they had lost 3 or 4 in Atlanta in August, Atlanta was like, okay, we got you. We got you now.
Exactly.
We're not scared of we're not scared of Scherzer.
I believe it was August 7th or August 8th. They got it down to 2 or 3 games. And just like that, it seemed like the Braves were just waiting for their sudden point to cave in. And that's what it came in that last weekend of the series. And honestly, we'll get to it with the Braves, but Mets offense with Lindor and Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor, 5 for 23 walks and 6 strikeouts. And that was the winning ways of the Mets regular season this season. If they were hitting Lindor and Alonso, for the most part, they were winning.
And I'm going to jump right to what was the big controversy in Game 3, although thank God it didn't become the narrative. I think only the Daily News hyped it, but that's not a real newspaper anymore. Was the Musgrove getting the ear check? Oh, perfect. There's the picture of it.
There you
go. And whatchamacallit, I would have taken it more seriously if I didn't watch the Met offense hit like that so many nights at Citi Field in September. I mean, it wasn't unthinkable they'd come out like that.
No, and it wasn't the first time we saw that, especially at a top pitcher in the league like that. We saw Corbin Burns dominate them. We saw Sandy Alcantara dominate them throughout the season. Not every outing, but that's what happens with division play. When you see guys here and there, it's bound to happen. But going back to Musgrove, he was hitless till the 5th, and they expected him in the 6th. The damage was already done. They were up, I believe, 5-0, 4-0 at that point. And since we want to talk about the check, all the substances, I feel like that's what everyone was talking about, as you said. The spin rate across Major League Baseball during the wild card weekend was up 5.5% compared to the regular season. So right then and there, it's not just Joe Musgrove, it's the whole rosters of the playoff teams. And maybe it's just the adrenaline. These guys haven't pitched in that atmosphere in basically since last postseason and dating back to 2019, because during the pandemic year, there were no fans.
And it's also colder weather that helps. And they do let the guys, like lick their fingers, get some moisture. You need it. Otherwise, you could have guys being hit in the head. And also the thing is too, this is the unsaid, and this is why the league, they're not injecting Joe Musgrove. Maybe they change the balls. You never know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, especially during the postseason.
Get those juice balls out of there,
They're trying to make it more entertaining, especially during the postseason. The home run ball, that's what the fans want.
Oh, I mean the opposite, Robert. during the regular season. Here comes the home run balls.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know?
And honestly, if you're from New York, in October and November, your ears get red when you go outside. So that could be a point right then and there.
Exactly. You never know. And these California guys, it could have affected them more. So I just had to laugh seeing some Met fans like, oh, I knew his ears were shining the first thing. Oh, Paul, yeah, no, you didn't.
No,
come on. Who's watching a game thinking that?
And I wanted to get to that with the Mets fan base specifically. Not selling out during a Game 3 elimination game, the first playoff series since 2015 playoff series.
No. It was a Sunday night, Robert. No, I mean, I think I want to stay home, watch football, 60 minutes. I mean, like how they had nobody there in September. I mean, the kids are back in school. Oh, it's 7:00. It's colder.
And it was Columbus Day the next day.
Exactly.
And even on Saturday when we were there, it seemed like during the 8th inning, a lot of the fans walked. Yeah, it felt like a Marlins Mets game in May.
Right. Revel. Like, don't you want to stay and celebrate your team winning a playoff game? Would have served them right if San Diego came back on them in the 9th. They're driving home. Oh, what? It's over.
I'm glad you brought up San Diego again because Rich Mancuso got a great video of Manny Machado and the Padres celebrating in the clubhouse after winning the wild card in Queens.
Oh, here we go.
That's what October baseball is all about, celebrating with your teammates, 162-game season. We've been saying it all season. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And for the Padres to do this against the Mets in Queens, huge congratulations to the Padres.
And no games at home. And I think that has to be emphasized. Bob Melvin said it before and after the game. He said how happy they are that they'll get to take it home. They've not had a home playoff game since 06 because they made it in 20. They made the playoffs, but again, I think they were sent down to Texas. That's where the whole National League went through. Ironically, the American League playoffs were in San Diego that year. But they were very classy, San Diego. I liked how they didn't do too much on the field. They just did a normal line, and then it's like once they got in their clubhouse, that's their domain. It's like, okay, we're gonna let loose, and good for them. They deserve it. Nobody should criticize team for celebrating. Now when you're knocked off a 100-win team that everyone thought could win it all.
Yeah, no, many teams celebrate. They go full out. I'm glad the Padres didn't. They showed class doing that. Get to the clubhouse and celebrate all you want. I got to congratulate Joe Musgrove after in the tunnel. Shook his hand. Great dude. But back to the Padres and what they have ahead of them. The Padres-Dodgers. This is what everyone wanted back in 2020 and 2021. And they finally get it. And like you said, Padre fans have longed to hear again. Playoffs in San Diego. It's going to be a madhouse for Game 3 and 4.
Especially if Yu Darvish pitches as good tonight as he did against the Mets last Friday, and they go down home 1-1.
Yeah, that's a key matchup. Game 2, Kershaw versus Yu Darvish. Darvish dominated the Mets last Friday. Let's see what he does this outing. And I know he doesn't have a lot of postseason success, but he's building it back up right now.
Oh, yeah. That game 5 years ago already.
Exactly.
It's been enough,
And the major threat on the Dodgers offense, I feel like we can go Betts, Freeman, Turner, everybody, but I'm going to go Betts. He's one of my favorite players across the league. 267 batting average, postseason career, 56 hits, 17 ribbies. He does it all, even on defense. We've seen it highlight by highlight, saving game-winning plays in the 8th, 9th inning last season in the postseason. But what are your thoughts and perspectives so far on Padres-Dodgers?
I mean, last night, I was impressed that the Dodgers came out so strong. They came out the strongest of the 4 teams. The layoff didn't affect them. They were ready to go. And I mean, they got those 5 early, and then ironically, San Diego didn't allow a hit the final 5 innings because of course they didn't hit the 9th. So from the 4th to the 8th, LA didn't have a hit. So I mean, you could take a lot out of that game. I mean, San Diego definitely looked tired. Who wouldn't be? I mean, they played basically 3 Game 7s all weekend against the Mets. Maybe it would have been different if they won Saturday night, but no, I think I can see that series going the distance. LA's gonna have their hands full with that team because I mean the thing is that was interesting when they played the Mets. Soto and Machado really didn't erupt the way you would expect. I mean, it was Trent Grisham all weekend that killed the Mets, you know. So you got to figure those guys are going to erupt at some point.
if you told me Trent Grisham would homer off Scherzer and DeGrom, I'd tell you no freaking way, especially in the postseason.
That's a trivia question in 20 years.
Definitely. The next series I'd like to talk about is Mariners Astros. What a freaking game one. We could go all day about that with Yordan Alvarez walking it off. But let me start on the Mariners side. 2-0 sweep against Toronto. In Toronto, a young team like that doing it, and to clinch erasing a 7-run deficit. What a huge momentum shift going into Houston. And I know we'll get to it with what happened in game one. And I feel like immediately it just Julio Rodriguez, we're going to see this guy in October by October, highlight reel on highlight reel. And he's only 21 years old. The world's only up from here for him. But my main concern with the Mariners was what they did in the ninth inning yesterday, having Robbie Ray come in. And it's something he wasn't used to, honestly, because starting pitchers going into the bullpen like that postseason, I just don't like the mix.
That reeks of desperation. For game one to go there, I mean, they have a decent bullpen. I mean, none of these teams have a good bullpen. Let's put it that way. But they didn't have to resort to that, especially when you had 2 full days off since the Jays choked on Saturday. I mean, the thing that I was saying about this, if you're them, what's most disconcerting mentally, you destroyed Verlander. And you don't win the game.
I know that's the biggest thing. It's like you had the game won against Verlander, and now you have to go up against Valdez down 0-1. Valdez proves himself each October. I believe last October he made a name for himself, and now going into this season, he had the most quality starts ever consecutively in MLB history.
All these guys were like rookies last year against Boston. Rookies their second year. They didn't have Verlander. That should be a big clarification. They made the World Series without Verlander. So that's why everyone thinks this year it should almost be automatic they get back. And I mean, that's the one thing, if I'm Houston, I'd be a little concerned how Verlander got hit yesterday. But Seattle's a damn good lineup. I mean, their lineup, you almost can argue that line's better than the Yankee lineup.
Definitely. And they're going to be a long-term threat. Other than this October, we're going to see them in the hunt in October, year by year, because that's the way they build their team. Signing Luis Castillo, signing Adam Frazier, J.P. Crawford, Julio Rodriguez. That's how you build for long-term success, not just one-year winning windows or 2-year winning windows.
And that's how it was in the 90s. I mean, when I was a kid, I remembered like the last year they were in their old uniforms, and then 93 they got these uniforms they're currently wearing now. And it's like, I always knew them as a damn good team in the 90s. Why? Because they had A-Rod, Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, Randy Johnson. Even Dan Wilson, the catcher, was damn good. He wasn't a superstar, he was damn good. And they definitely have the makings of the same Jerry Dipoto. This guy's gotten a lot of praise, but it didn't work in Anaheim. Well, it never works there anymore. But he's proven himself with this team. What he built here, and they snuck in as the last wild card, but I'd expect a lot more from them next year.
No, definitely. They're going to make noise, and just having this experience, I'm not saying they're done yet, but having this experience in Houston, it's going to be a huge telling tale and momentum shift going into next season as a full group.
Oh, they're arguably a year ahead of schedule. I mean, you would have figured if you looked at who the 6 teams would be in the playoffs, you would have figured you could have had 3 come out of the East. Boston had a bad year, or you could have seen Chicago and Minnesota. So they're a year ahead of schedule just getting this experience now.
No, definitely. And you mentioned it with Houston, their offense, we can go down the list. Kyle Tucker, I'm beginning with him, but Yordan Alvarez, Altuve. Altuve has the second most homers in postseason history. Only guy in front of him is Manny Ramirez. 6 more to go, and Jose Altuve is the leader. Who would have thought that at 5'7" for a second baseman? That's just the way baseball is.
If I didn't see one of Manny Ramirez's teammates, Dustin Pedroia, do the same thing, it would be more of a surprise to me. You get those guys, these little guys, gigantic swings,
It's all about the forearms and the upper strength.
Yeah, exactly. That leaving, something about it. They can swing like eye level, and it's like basically just about where it'd be maybe belt high for somebody else. So, they're swinging like whereas a guy swing at their eyes, a pitch of their eyes would be like not a great pitch. With that one's a good pitch. So fascinating.
My next series I wanted to get on was Braves Phillies. We've been previewing it here and there, but the Phillies just momentum shift from the beginning, beating Cardinals 2-0.
Yeah.
Huge comeback in game one. We were watching at the Citi Field dining room.
We all were stunned.
We didn't know what was going on. But
Nope.
they have 15 runs over the last 3 games, and as we were saying before, that blend of singles, home runs, they're doing it all, and even the pitching. We've said it, their bullpen isn't all that, but the pitching, the front end of the pitching is holding up with Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler's pitching tonight.
Yeah.
Ranger Suarez pitched great for 5+ innings yesterday.
Yeah, and Atlanta could have blown him out early. They didn't.
And honestly, the Braves out-homered the Phillies yesterday. But as we saw, there's the Phillies, that momentum shift. As you go into a series versus a team that has 5 days off, I'm going with that wild card team. I'd say 6 out of 10 times. It's just a coin toss a lot of the time, I'd say. And we saw it. 3 out of the 4 teams that had the bye won, but the one team that didn't was Atlanta.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly right. And you could tell they were rusty. And they weren't able to turn on until late. And that was a perfect example at ninth when Olsen homered. Sometimes the homer is the worst thing possible because it just sort of resets for the other side. And it's almost like the Philly looked up, okay, we need 2 outs. Nobody on base. It sort of halted everything. So that's where their home run prowess hurt them.
The Phillies will make franchise history tonight. If they win tonight, it will be 4 consecutive road playoff wins. They've never done that in their franchise history. So that's huge for them. And we've been talking about it. Rob Thompson, 2-year extension, I believe, for next year only. But he deserved it. Leading this team to the postseason, first time since, I believe, 2011.
11, yeah, that's right. A lot of managers since then, a lot of players since then, you know. Go figure. They had Gabe Kapler and Joe Girardi, and it's Rob Thompson that finally got something out of them.
And it was exactly total turnaround them from what we saw in April when they were in Queens, in May when they were in Queens. We saw total errors, mishaps on the field, but now they're totally locked in as a team, and you see them with that energy. Nick Castellanos making defensive plays. We know his bat, but him making plays in the outfield, we didn't know about that. Kyle Schwarber stepping up as we know him to do. Yeah. Gene Segura, very clutch. Who would have thought that? Against the Mets, yes. But I don't know. I didn't know about this against the Braves and Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I was reading a piece in the New York Times from friend Tyler Kepner about this, and it's Segura, this longest player without a postseason game, but then also talking about the division series, how crushing it is for a team like St. Louis. Division winner forced into that round, and they got smoked. You know, that's one flaw in the format, you know.
Yeah. No, that is one flaw in the format. And going back to the Cardinals, they were one of the teams that were favored going in. And just like that, a division, they were the Cinderella story because everyone wanted Pujols and Yachty to ride off in the sunset with a title. But that's the way baseball is sometimes. It's a hard truth.
Yeah, and I think Pujols, I mean, you can't argue the way he went out. I mean, he had like 18 home runs in the second half. I don't think 700 was even thought of that he'd have a chance. And then it was like he just tore it up. And I think that probably captivated as many, if not more, fans than the Judge chase. Mm-hmm. Only 4 guys have ever had 700 home runs in Major League history. A-Rod should have, but lost the season. Even so, came 4 short. So that's eminently consistent for A-Rod's career in a way, you know, that it just wasn't perfect, you know.
My last point for our baseball segment right now, the Blue Jays. They were one of the favorites going in, a terrible collision in, I believe, the 9th inning with George Springer and Bo Bichette. I hope both are okay. I believe Springer was taken out of the game. And
yes. Yeah, Bichette somehow stayed in, which was remarkable to me.
Yeah, no, that's once I saw that on replay, I didn't expect either to stay in.
No.
And it's one of those plays that both players are going all out for in a playoff-like game. It's just tough to see as a fan and anybody spectating.
Some of you didn't see much from the Jays all year either, you know. Yeah. They dogged it all year. That was a bad team. They weren't fundamentally sound. I mean, there was a game they were playing the Yankees, and it just showed what a difference in the clubs. Anthony Rizzo, not exactly Usain Bolt, legged out some grounder or something, and basically it was remarkable that he hustled, beat it out. Then Bo Bichette, he's standing out second, he's looking around, ball gets away. Guerrero's signaling him, go to third. He's still standing at second base looking around. And it's like that's not a fundamentally sound team. They got their manager fired in July. The replacement had worked for a while, and then they're a bunch of showboats. I mean, I think that's a team that they watch MLB, they get praised for their bat flips and their haircuts, and they're young, they're hip, they're cool, but they don't win. This is the fourth year of this group.
They were called the Baby Jays a while back, and they're still not blooming. It's when are they going to get to the promised land?
No, I mean it's almost like how the Yankees thought they had the Baby Bombers 5-6 years ago, and the only one left is Judge.
We have a lot to talk about. We're hoping to have Billy Coppola on the next segment. Right now, he's having trouble logging in. I'm going to work on it during a commercial break. But everyone, comment in the cube, like, comment, subscribe on the SLG Network, Rich Mancuso's YouTube page, and we'll be right back.
Doing bad, they gon' love you. Yeah. Doing good, they gon' hate you. Yeah. Look down on your come up, but to the hustle, stay faithful. Big goals by the rate full. Drip everywhere, that's wasteful. Accent color, that's tasteful. We front and center at the tape. Got 3-5 in my blunt. Yeah. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck. Yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling that. They feeling that. Show her in the truck, then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough, yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that. Save me a gold casket. My life been tragic. Good gas and blunts pass. Blow out a nigga head gaskets. Fuck boys, don't need them. Yo, bitch crazy, better keep her. Yo, niggas high when it's time to ride, but I bet that bitch start squeezing. Smoke sessions in the evening. Private chef and we eat it. It's a long way from voyeur to 4 years in Lamborghinis. Move different, can't see me. Only pictures ain't on TV. Tribe meetings and vibe readings. These space race like E.T. We had roaches in the kitchen. Now it's rooms in the villa. Took the cards I was dealt, flipped them. I'm the one who do the dealing. Did so much of my own, baby, I don't give a fuck about feelings. Everybody got a lot to say, but ain't nobody came with it. Fuck it, I spin it. Had it, I lent it. Trusted some niggas, now I regret it. I can forgive it, never forget it. Niggas still out there, I ain't gon' get it. Yeah, this is it, I can't slow up. Niggas muddy from the pole up. Big sauce like a cold cut, you either hoe up or you gon' blow up. Got 3-5 in my blunt, 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck, yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling that. They feeling that. Show her in the truck, then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough, yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that. Where the ghost mean power, you a star, Omari Hardwick. Seen a lot of hardships, we was taking long trips. Talking through the glass, gotta medicate with strong hits of ganja. Gotta watch how people move around you. My brother got sittings cause of snitch. Niggas dying over bitches, niggas lie like it's religion. If you been dying, you feel me. Gotta keep applying pressure, double up, that boy can stretch it. Good credit or no credit, they need it, go get it. Lil' baby, this is me, what you get is what you see. And you best believe we wore red. Got 3-5 in my blunt, 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I was out of luck, yeah, now my money up. Yeah, they feeling that. They feeling that. They feeling that. Show her in the truck, then throw it in the guts. Yeah, she feeling that. She feeling that. She feeling that. Niggas talking tough, yeah, till we pulling up. Now he feeling that. He feeling that. He feeling that.
We are back, Sports with Rich, Wednesday night this week. Tuesday night next week, back to regular schedule because MLB postseason going on. A lot going on. We're covering Mets last week. They're out now. But Yankees this week, hopefully they keep advancing. But we'll see how it goes. We'll be covering Astros, Dodgers, Padres, everything going on. But right now I'm still trying to get Billy Coppola in the studio. We're having some issues, hoping to get him on soon. But if not, we're just going to keep talking about baseball. Sure. Right now, Phillies Braves 0-0 in the top of the 5th. Let's see. Zach Wheeler, 4 innings pitched, 1 hit ball, 3 strikeouts. That was my common thing going into this series. If Zach Wheeler can be dominant in that game 2, Phillies have a chance. And we saw it in game 1. They got the W, but 2-0. If they can get the win tonight, going into Philadelphia with that crowd in Philly, first time since 2011, that's a huge momentum shift and huge telling tale for the Braves and what's to come if they lose tonight.
Oh, it could get very dicey in a hurry. I mean, let's put it this way: if Yankee fans were jacked up last night, first playoff game in 3 years. Just imagine a team, especially a sports city like Philly. They're going to be, good God, they'll be there at 7 a.m. when to get in that park on Friday if they're up 2-0.
Yeah, we're still having trouble getting Billy on for some reason. Let's see. All right, we'll keep going. But right now, Dodgers Padres, it's about to start up 8:37.
Yeah, I just had the first pitch.
Oh yeah, Yu Darvish versus Clayton Kershaw. That's a big one. 2 outs in the first, but unfortunately, I don't think we can get Coppola on right now. He's having trouble with the studio. If we can get him on throughout the show, we'll try to get him back on. But if not, we'll get him on next week because he loves talking baseball. I was up late night the other day talking to him about Mets, Dodgers, everything going on. So he's a huge fanatic when it comes to it. He's been in the industry for years, and he knows it. He knows it all.
As Rich says to all of us who come on, you all come back now.
Exactly. One conversation I wanted to have with you was the Mets free agents coming up with Edwin Diaz specifically. We talked about Bassett a little with DeGrom and Brandon Nimmo. Those are 4 key guys right there. So who's going to be the main concern you think, other than DeGrom, obviously, because DeGrom, all said and done, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher in baseball.
I think they're going to have a real issue with Diaz, bringing him back. I think Diaz is going to have a bidding war. And I think that bidding war is going to involve the Yankees and Boston. Just think of all the big money close that bullpen issues. Even the LA Dodgers, Kimbrel was a flop this year. Now, Kimbrel, of course, could, he has World Series experience with Boston. He could turn it up, and that could rectify everything. But they're going to have a massive big one for Diaz. And I suspect the Met Analytics department, they're going to really run the numbers and say if it gets into $40 million a year territory for him, what contract for a closer's worked recently? I mean, even Chapman, largely a bust for the Yankees. They gave him the big deal after 16 when he won Chicago, and then they hustled to bring him back for no reason, and then they re-up him in 19 after Altuve homer to be in that season, and then what's he do in 20? Oh, some guy in Tampa ends the season the same way on a home run. So that just shows you the value of closers. That's very dicey, and the Mets could surprise people if they could sort of just say, clear, we're not going to overpay for Diaz. DeGrom, if they choose not to go after DeGrom, the last month would kind of justify that decision. He wasn't great. The final 4 regular season games and then the playoffs, he was better. But, boy, San Diego was 1 or 2 big hits away from ripping that open too.
No, definitely. And many people don't compare it, but I like to compare it. It's kind of like the NFL and running backs with baseball and the bullpen. It's how much are you willing to spend on one specific guy that's you can get at a cheaper price out there. So $20 million for Edwin Diaz, that's what's projected right now, even more depending on
higher.
That's
higher.
Depending on how
over 30.
Oh, I just got a text. Billy is here in the lobby.
All right.
So, perfect. So I'm hoping we could get Billy in and talk some baseball. Hey, Billy, how are you? Oh, can't hear you? Right now, Billy's having some audio issues. We'll try. Oh, nothing right now. I'm not hearing anything. We have Billy Coppola on the line, Latino sports journalist. Glad to talk baseball with him. But I believe Billy, can we hear you?
Billy?
No, nothing right now. Maybe I'll text him, try to log back in. Oh, he just left.
He left us.
I have an issue week by week with technology, so it's all right.
He didn't see. It's my fault. He didn't see Rich. He said, "I want to be part of this." Who's this guy on for Rich?
I'm texting him right now. Hold on. Yep. We'll try to get him back in soon, but it's just the technology nowadays. You can never trust it.
We're all across we're all in different parts. We're even far away, Robert.
Yeah, we had him for a sec. Hey, Billy. Latino sports journalist. Let's try this one more time with the audio. Billy, do you hear us right now? And I'm hoping if you do, talk back, and hopefully we hear you. Nope, nothing right now.
Billy?
Nope, I don't think so. All right,
Well,
Oh,
I
no,
can't hear anything you guys are saying.
Oh,
You can hear
Oh.
me.
okay. We hear Billy. That was a major concern at first. It must be an audio issue on our front. If it is, we're hoping to have Billy on next week just to solve this out. Billy, we love having you on, talk baseball all the time. But sorry about the issue. But I'm trying to figure it out right now. But if not, we'll have you on next week. Do you hear anything now? No, I don't think so. I think we're going to have Billy on next week. Just audio issues right now. Sorry about that, Billy. Sorry to the audience. All right, we're back. Audio issues, it happens. I'm stressing out a little, but it's okay. That's what the sports world's about. You got to stress out. Postseason baseball.
never let him see you sweat.
Exactly. So we were talking about Mets bullpen and
Mets free agents. Yeah.
Mets free agents bullpen. I got in my head because Edwin Diaz.
Automatic to me that he's going is probably Seth Lugo. I think he wants to really be a starter elsewhere. He had the misfortune when they really had that hot start. He blew a few games, and the fan base really got on him. I remember this thing was the second home game against Arizona. They booed him.
Yeah,
I mean, it was ridiculous, and nobody really knew when the Mets were going to come out of the gate. And it's like, you're booing this guy. They come out 5-2, but they won opening day. They lose the next one. But that's another story. Very poignant moment on Sunday night when I came back up to the booth. I went up a bit earlier than you guys. I went up after Buck's post game, and it was probably like 45 minutes after the game ended. And he was out there. He just had his wife just gave birth to a baby. So this is probably his older child, probably like two or three. And he's walking around like, just playing with his little kid. His wife's there too. And you could just tell it was like he was savoring that moment like it was his last time at Citi Field. It was very sad, especially as the season ended. Just added to the emotion of the night.
No, definitely. And it was especially with the Met fans, it feels year by year they find that one guy to just bash, and it's not good for a baseball team, especially in New York. The morale isn't there when the fans are booing, and we saw that over the weekend in the 8th inning and the 9th inning.
They booed Vogelback. I mean, this guy was like the folk hero when he arrived, and 2 months later they're booing him. Nice fans.
Texting Billy right now, trying to have him on one more time, but if not, we'll try next week. But we'll go to a quick commercial break, and from there we'll come back and return with a bunch of postseason conversation.
What's good, everybody? My name is Caleb from the Bayou City Boys over here on the SLG Network. Happy to announce that we are now working with Dano's Seasoning. So if you're anything like me, you meal prep all the time, Dano's is the way to go, man. They got multiple flavors. Hit them up. Be sure to use our code SLG Network. Appreciate every single one of y'all. Peace.
Spending money like it's nothing. I don't have a budget. Please don't get offended when you see the kids stunting. Got my queens with me, but it ain't no Scarborough bluffing. See, I'm riding solo, well dependent bitches cuffing. I got all I need, me, myself, and I just love it. I've been doing bad, they gon' love you. Yeah. Doing good, they gon' hate you. Yeah. Look down on your come up, but to the hustle, stay faithful. Big goals by the rate full. Drip everywhere, that's wasteful. Accent color, that's tasteful. We front and center at the tape. Got 3-5 in my blunt. Yeah. 4 extra mud in my cup. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. Keep your eyes shut. The lights flicker, there's evil all around us. No one's safe from the nightmare. Cold sweat, so scared. Someone get me out of here. Say, you better be afraid. The night's coming like fire from a hand grenade. There's no escaping tonight. It's coming alive.
Hey, we're back, Sports with Rich. We're hoping to have Billy Capola on right now. We're going to give it a go. Hopefully Capola hears us, but if not...
I can hear you now.
we are back.
There we go.
Billy Capola, Latino sports journalist.
What I did. I had my volume off so I wouldn't make any noise when I was watching because my wife is in the other room. What an idiot.
No worries.
I would have made the same mistake, Billy.
It happens. Latino sports journalist Billy Capola, we are so glad to have you on. Talk Dodgers. You covered the Dodgers throughout the whole season this season. 111 wins, I believe. Tied for fourth best in MLB history. So let's get right to it. Dodgers Padres. You've been talking about it on your content. What do you see so far? Game 1, Game 2's tonight.
Game 2, you got Kershaw and you got Darvish. Oh boy, I wish I was there. I can't. You know the reasons why I couldn't be there, but that's beside the point. I wrote about it before. You can't predict this stuff. I mean, I didn't think the Phillies would be where they are. I didn't think they'd beat the Braves in the first game. The Mets? Well, So I mean, the whole thing is like really, really a lot of fun because you really can't, unless you're a fan, a poor Met fan, or Seattle last night. But the Dodgers and the Padres, Dodgers just pounded them all year. I think they were 14-5.
Yep.
But last night, they didn't get a hit after the third inning. They did not hit their the guys out of the pen, whereas all season they did. So I don't know whether they say, oh, they had too much rest. That's baloney. These guys, they're ready to go all the time. But somebody gets hot, somebody's not. Musgrove. I knew Musgrove was going to be tough for the Mets. I didn't know he was going to be that good.
Oof.
So
yeah, he won at Citi Field in July, so it didn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean it's but they've handled the Padres pretty well, but to me last night they didn't. That's not the way they played the Padres all year. So that's one game. Mm-hmm. Kershaw is a stopper. I mean, he comes out there. He works hard between his starts. And it pays off. When you see him throw. But the Dodgers, though, as you can see, they don't have a closer. They gave up on that. They've got that. They've got a lot of good arms in the bullpen. Some of the guys that I know, some of them I really trust, and some, wow. Like, why did you put him on the postseason roster? Like, I think was it Ferguson's on the roster? But I'm glad to see Kimbrel's not there because the poor guy is. I mean, he was a great pitcher. He's not a closer anymore, and that hurt them. But they're just so deep. Mm-hmm. They got so many guys. They put a rookie on their postseason roster. This guy Vargas. I mean, he's a kid, and they have a lot of confidence in him. So. This is going to be interesting, but I still don't see the Padres. They might win one game. I don't know who it's going to. It might be against Anderson or they've got one shot. Once maybe somebody gets hurt. I don't know.
Kind of like a puncher's chance.
Yeah,
because how elite LA is.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed was near the end of the season, the last couple of weeks of games, there was a lot of bunting for move a runner over, even for a base hit by big guys, by big stars. Soto's doing it, and so on and so forth. Joey Gallo laid down a bunt. I mean, and you saw it with the Phillies, with Harper and stuff like that. I know it's not with the Dodgers and the Padres right now, but. That to me is pretty interesting because why not? Show them something different. Put the ball in play and show them something different. But right now, until somebody proves otherwise, the Dodgers are. I don't see anybody beating them, even Houston. So they're just the big word is deep.
Deep and versatile too. That's how Buck Showalter described him in late August.
Yeah, they've got guys that can play like. Taylor, Chris Taylor, he can play anywhere. He's like second base, plays left field, plays center field, plays right field. The big guy that I like in the lineup is Thompson, big right-hander.
Yeah.
All these guys strike out. They all strike out. But this guy here, he not only does he can hit the long ball, but he really comes up clutch for them a lot. And in the outfield, he's spectacular in the outfield. They've got they're Mookie in the right, and either Bellinger or Thompson in center, and you got Gallo you can put in left field. I mean, or Taylor's out there. They just got a lot of guys that can do a lot of stuff. They kept Alberto off the roster, and they kept the kid Vargas, which is good. Like I said, that's going to be a little interesting because Alberto's he's got a lot of experience, and the other kid's just a kid. And the only thing though is he's been playing in front of 52,000 people every night in Dodger Stadium, so it's not like a big, oh my God, this is crazy. It's crazy every night there. So
we have Billy Capola here, Latino sports journalist. I wanted to get your opinion. We talk about it here and there about the Cy Young voting, how it goes. Right now, Sandy Alcantara is the lead go-getter. Everyone has him as the front runner. But your take, Julio Urias should be right there as the first place go-getter.
This is a guy that he got jacked out of it last year. The guy wins 20 games at low ERA. Are you serious? So they don't they don't mean anything. You can see that with DeGrom winning 2. He didn't win. It wasn't a 20-game winner. So, but Urias gives him a good, solid start every game. He was not as effective last night. As you can see, but they still find a way to win with him. But he gives them a good, solid chance of winning every single time. He is the absolute ace. Even with talking about a Hall of Famer Kershaw, and Urias is the guy, And Cy Young, boy, he's still at the top of my list. Alcantara, he's young. He's a lot of strikeouts. He throws complete games. He's playing for a horrible team, and he still performs really well. So I can see why he's at the top of the list, but I'm a little partial because I see Urias all the time. Nice guy. I see, you know what it is? I see these guys working out 4 hours before the game, sometimes more than that. And you see the work and the effort and what they put into the game, every game, right? Kershaw, when he finishes tomorrow, they're not at home, but if he was, he's out on the field like at 9 o'clock in the morning. Working, stretching, and doing this and that. These guys put a lot of work in it, and Urias is one of them. He's a tough, hard worker. So it's kind of a sentimental vote there, but I can see where you would Alcantara being the top runner. Sure, I can see that.
I mean, to me, I think the difference would be of one guy who's on a 112-win team, and another guy whose team was out of it, like on Father's Day. So, to me, I'd go probably Urias. That would be a tough choice for me too.
Yeah. It's I can see why he's at the top of it. You know what? And like I mentioned, complete games. This is a guy that actually can do it. Here's the thing. They let him do it. Most of these teams, what the hell was it? My brain is fried. Arizona.
Zach Gallen.
Yeah. I'm at the game. He's in a 1-1 tie with Urias. Urias comes out after 5 1/3. They're both pitching great, but he goes 8 innings and 2 hits, 13 strikeouts, no walks. They take him out. They score in the top of the ninth. They still have time to get him back in the uniform and make him play. You can't get 3 more outs. So what do you think happens? The bullpen comes in, they stink up the joint.
Yeah.
They lose. So you got a guy like Alcantara that can finish what he started. 3 more outs. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, exactly.
99 his arm explodes. That's not, but that's like that. That's Major League Baseball. They all do it, and a lot of them stayed. Unfortunately, I'm seeing teams that stick to the script, like Tampa Bay, which they do it all the time. You're not going. It doesn't work in the playoffs. It's a different thing, different animal, and so I don't know. I got off the track there with the Cy Young, but
no, talking baseball. That's what happens. Always goes off tangent. But let's still talk about baseball. Obviously, postseason going on. Main conversation point across the league was 5 days off compared to playing on Friday for the wild card series. What's your take on it? I've heard it earlier from you, but 5 days off compared to playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
5 days. Oh, you mean the guys that had
the buys.
the buys.
Yeah.
That's always been something that they've talked about for years when a team clinches really early, and now they're just going through the motions. And they say, "Oh no, we're not." Yes, they are. There's not that that tightness where they're trying to really get a hit. I watch the Dodgers. They Mookie Betts might not play every game, or they take him out after 3 innings, and I understand that, but it's also you to me as a ball player, you're breaking their rhythm. You're getting out of their comfort thing where they do the same thing every day. They eat the same fried chicken, whatever the heck it is that gets them to where they're supposed to be. That's what they do. I remember Jeter would throw on the sideline. He had that same routine from way deep with the long throws, and he'd shorten it up, and he did that every single game. Now, if you take a guy out of something, I think it hurts them when they, and so that big five games is, I think, it's gonna. Well, it showed. Let's see who was in that. The Braves.
Yeah,
they came out flat.
Right there.
Very flat.
Very flat. What's his name last night?
Verlander.
Fried.
Fried too.
Fried last night. He does that where he gives up runs early, and I don't understand why Snitker left him in. He scored 6 runs off of him. They left him that long. You got your top of the line starters, now, ready to go. You guys got a nice bullpen, but so somebody like that, I think maybe that was one of his problems last night. He's not going to go 20-0. He's going to lose games. That's how he loses a game. What you saw last night.
I think Fried was supposed to start the season finale, but when it became meaningless, they shelved him. So he didn't pitch since the Friday against the Mets a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're getting Strider back. That's a big hit for them. They just gave
him a new contract. I know that.
Yeah.
And that's basically their philosophy. They lock up all these young guys. He had a hell of a year. Would definitely hurt if they don't get him back.
I don't even know what's. I didn't even look at it. What they're doing now with Wright. If they're winning, they're losing.
Freddie Freeman had a solo homer to tie the Dodgers Padres game.
Yeah, 1-1 Padres Dodgers. 0-0 in the middle of the 6th for Phillies Braves right now.
Oh boy, that's a good one. Is that Wheeler still in there?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, Wheeler's still in there. 1 hit ball after 4 strikeouts.
Olsen is hot right now. Coming down the end. But if Freddie was playing with the Braves, they would have beat the Mets by 10 games. Yeah. I saw. He's unbelievable. He goes to opposite field. He has a high batting average with runners on base. That's the guy you want, So
it's funny to see Olsen had more homers and RBIs, but Freddie hit 80 points higher than him. That says a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, he's got a lot. Freddie's got a lot of doubles. He's got the 100 RBIs. He's got the most hits in baseball, I think. But that was a. Yeah, Olsen is okay, but the Braves they're really missing Freddie Freeman, and it's going to be interesting in the offseason who goes where too, between Trey Turner here with the Dodgers, and we know Judge is going to re-sign with the Yankees. That's not going to happen as far as them losing him. That's almost impossible. The Yankees are just messing with the media so that they get that interest going, right now. But yeah, they're top of the right down to number 4 or 5 in their lineup with the Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, Freeman, Smith is a catcher. I think Smith is one of the best catchers in baseball. Mm-hmm. He can hit, he can catch, he can, not as good as a lot of guys with throwing guys out. But he's
incredibly underrated.
Yeah, he's underrated.
He has that clutch factor.
Yeah, yep. and then after that, once you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, it's a who's going to come up big. Whether it's Muncy and or Justin Turner, or I mentioned Thompson.
Yeah, they have such a deep lineup. It reminds me of the Mets-Dodgers series in August. The Mets had trouble pitching to Gavin Lux, Max Muncy. Meanwhile, in the same lineup, you have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. It just shows how deep that lineup is. and how there's no open holes for the opposing pitchers.
Yeah, you mentioned an interesting person, Lux. Lux is, he's played second base a lot, and he looks like an amateur at second base a lot of times. He makes a lot of dopey plays, throws to the wrong base, ill-advised throws, whatever. And he looks a little confused out there. And they had talked about, if we lose Turner, we'll put Lux at short. Oh my God, that's 100 wins a year. So that's an interesting guy. But when he's hot, he can hit. Hits a lot of doubles. You know, I think he's tied for the most triples possibly for the year. But that's an interesting guy. One of the things I saw, as far as we talked about how they where these guys are coming from, Joey Gallo is nobody's talking about him, but you know he's gonna strike out, he'll hit a double, and he'll hit a bomb for a home run. So he's always a threat, and that's why he should be in the lineup against any righty. But I watched him when he first got to LA. Again, that 4 or 5 hours before the game, they're doing sim games with somebody, and it would be Gallo and Muncy, who was struggling really bad at the time, and they just worked and worked and worked, and all of a sudden, you know, it all clicked. I don't know if they were able to get that same feeling with the Yankees as they're getting over here. It's sunny over every day. You know, there's the mariachi band playing in right field every Tuesday. So, you know, he's in a happy place, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's somebody that comes up big with a big hit at a really critical time. You know, so Joey Gallo, forgotten guy.
I think you hit on something with Joey, that the Yankees, it's bad as he was for the Yankees when he left initially, they missed that home run threat. They, of course, had to hit him 8th at the end, but basically Aaron Hicks is not the home run threat he was. Joey Gallo still always, when the guy came up, even if he was over his last 100, he still could bop one. You know,
yeah,
something to be said for that.
That's a good point. Good observation about that. And I don't know, maybe if it's sometimes, you know, these guys, no, it doesn't matter where I play. Yes, it does. You know, and the whole New York City is a tough place, tough fans. It's a tight. See, over here, LA, it's like
whatever.
Everybody relax, you know, they're all having fun, and they feel that, you know, before the games, and while the people cheering him on from day one he got here, they loved the guy.
Yeah,
struck out 5 times. Nobody booed him.
Yeah.
Biggest booze, by the way, is tonight again when Machado comes up. Machado is the loudest booze in a stadium I've ever heard in my life, and I heard A-Rod getting booed and all those guys back. Nothing like this. Nothing. They hate him over here. It's just pretty amazing. So, yeah,
I think the difference is because he was such a flop for the Dodgers themselves.
Oh yeah, you know, he's giving up running. It's like
it's funny you say that, because Dodger Stadium was probably booing 20 minutes ago. Machado homered.
Oh,
wow!
Off Kershaw. So Machado, Freeman, little home run frenzy going on right now.
He's their best hitter, you know. But the thing that they talk about Soto and, you know, and Machado and Bell and a few of these other guys, and Profar's having a good year.
Yeah,
but nobody talks about their pitching. I think they have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. They really do. It's just that they got buried out here, like I said, by the Dodgers. I mean, they're 22 games behind. You think, well, they're not that good. Oh, they're good. They're good. You know, if they were playing in any of the other divisions, they possibly could have won any of those other divisions. I mean, they have 89 wins. The Dodgers 14 times. Do the math.
Yeah.
You know,
when the Mets drew San Diego, that's the thing that struck me, was how good their pitching was against the Mets in July here. And then I looked back, and it was pretty damn good against them in June also. It was like the first time the Mets were shut out all season.
Yeah. Poor Mets.
I know.
You know, they just had that one game in Atlanta. It was over. That just killed them. And I mean, who the heck expected that? Scherzer and the DeGrom. DeGrom came up. They won, but what happened with them calling time or all that and that stuff there?
That's what I was going to ask you about. One of my questions, obviously, people are talking about the spin rate. People are talking about this with Musgrove. But honestly, my opinion on it is if you're going to ask for a check, don't ask in the 6th inning when the damage is already done. You got to ask in the 3rd or 4th inning, get him out of that rhythm, because in the 6th inning, the game's over.
Yeah, that's excellent point.
Good point, Robert.
And Buck, he had to do that. Buck all year, and every team he's always been with, he gives his team the best opportunity to win a game every single game, but he just can't execute for them. They still have to execute. But I mean, I feel bad for him. I know Buck has spent some time with him, and he's a little rough around the edges sometimes, but he's a baseball man. I mean, when he was out here and they were beating the Dodgers by, I think, 6 runs, and the Dodgers brought in one of their, I think they bring Alberto the pitch, and Buck was out there. You can't do that. And, I mean, what the heck? The umpires didn't even know that rule.
I think they were down 5, and you have to be down 6.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
I was out that game, and I'm like, what's he talking? What are they doing? What's going on? And then he got pissed off because I know. You know who really got ticked off with that was after the game was over was Keith Hernandez.
Yeah.
Because we're coming out of the bathroom, and he's like really going on about how they gave the guy extra warm-up pitches. Like, who cares? He still won the game. I mean, but that was an interesting night. And one of the things, though, I was talking to Wayne Kirby and during that series, and he was telling me, he said, these guys bought into our system, Buck's system. He said, and they're going to do what his way of baseball. And they did. They didn't, like, Alonso was not the big, although he did hit 40 home runs or so, but he wasn't the big guy they were always looking for. He had he had everybody working in the right direction, the way he wanted them to, so they're in good. They're okay. It's just like they just replaced the Dodgers in Brooklyn, right?
But it's funny you mentioned Pete. He definitely grew, to me, exponentially. He always just seemed like this big slugger and really wasn't that great a fielder. Whereas this year, just this guy, he made some big plays all year. Yeah. Then 40 home runs, 131 RBIs. I mean, to me, he grew leaps and bounds, as did like Brandon Nimmo and a few others. You could see the impact of Buck on that team, which is such a shame that it ended so early.
Yeah, what's interesting, I don't know if you just mentioned his overall play. His fielding has gotten a lot better. During the All-Star game over here, there were 3 days where he and Ronnie Washington were working together. Ronnie from the Braves.
Right.
Has made a lot of guys into Gold Glovers. And when I just spoke to Freddie Freeman about that little drill they do before the game on the sideline where Ronnie's whacking balls at Ozzie Albies and all these other guys. And he said he never did that until Ronnie Washington got there. But he was working with Alonso during that All-Star game. It was a funny thing with I'm talking to Freddie, and he's going, it's all about repetition and getting your hands out in front. And he's doing this to me, like putting his hands and I'm looking at his hands, and like my hands aren't that. My hands are pretty big, but his hands are like, and that's how all these guys are. Just Freddie, but Pete, he's spent a lot. He's worked really hard to improve his game. Besides just the hitting, he knows he can hit. But he's really worked hard to make it. And he's a big guy. You got to have little, ballet dancing feet over there first base. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
so I'll give him a lot of credit. He works hard.
Yeah.
One final question for me, for Billy Capola, Latino sports journalist. Right now, we're hoping to have you on before or during the World Series. But if we don't, what's your pick and how many games? What's the matchup and how many games?
I'm still gonna go. I'm still gonna go with the Dodgers in the World Series. I think that's an easy bet right there. But
American League is tough.
I'm telling you, American League is tough. Houston, I think, got lucky last night. They're not really playing the tougher teams. I think Cleveland is underrated. They can win. Yankees have to be careful of that. But I'm about 85% thinking that it's going to be Yankees Dodgers.
Wow, that's some call, Billy.
That'll be a lot of TV ratings for that one.
Yeah. Luckily, there's only five people watching this thing, so nobody's going to hear me say that. Is Mancuso watching it even, or is he doing his boxing thing?
Probably the boxing, probably the wrestling. Probably.
The Blue Moon Pizza, chowing it down.
Billy Capola, it's always a pleasure having you on. We're hoping to have you on during the World Series that week, but thank you as always, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks, Billy.
Guys. Okay, bye.
We're going to take one commercial break and then come back with Keep It in the Ring, boxing news, wrestling from Ray from Off the Top Rope podcast on the SLG network, get into some NFL storylines, and we'll go from there.
Spending money like it's nothing. I don't have a budget. Please don't get offended when you see the kids stunting. Got my queens with me, but it ain't no Scarborough bluffing. See, I'm riding solo while dependent bitches cuffing. I got all I need, me, myself, and I just love it. I've been gone, riches stacking to the ceiling. I'm dick long. Could never change the side I've been on. In 100 years, I'ma still be with my day ones. When it's said and done, fuck where I'm going, it's all about where I came from. You don't know.
Sports with Rich, we're back Wednesday night. Next week, we'll be back on our normal schedule Tuesday nights. Always on the SLG network. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment in the cube. We're looking for you right here. Dodgers, Padres going on. Braves, Phillies going on. Have a little watch along going, checking on my phone right now. But we're going to get to the boxing. Keep it in the ring. Sebastian Fundora had a great weekend this week. He defeated Carlos Ocampo in a unanimous decision. Scores were 117, 111, 118, 110, 119, 109. The biggest thing about this kid, he's 24 years old. He has power within his reach. The height is his advantage, and he's only going to develop from here. So future's only up from here for Sebastian Fundora. Next news update is Devin Haney fighting this Saturday versus George Kambosos. Saturday, October 15th in Melbourne, Australia. This is actually a rematch. The first fight, Devin Haney won, and this fight will be on the undisputed lightweight title and 4-month layoff for Haney, 23 years old, skill set's still developing, but he's at the top of his game. And he said today in the press conference, I feel like now I'm finally getting my just due.
When's that fight air here, Robert? When's that fight air here if it's in Australia?
Oof. Honestly, that's something we need Rich Mancuso on for.
I hate to go completely off just a point of curiosity. Sometimes those fights, if it's in like Asia or Australia, they'll do them like Sunday afternoon somewhere, so they air like here at midnight.
I know. I don't know how they're going to do it, especially on Saturday. Obviously, they don't care about college football, but I'll be tuned into college football.
We need to get Rich on here. So we want some Sunday morning boxing here, you know?
Exactly. Get a watch along going. No, but Devin Haney, he's a star upcoming, 23 years old, and feels like he's already at the top of his game. Kambosos, that's a rematch. Everyone's going to want to tune into that fight. And honestly, I don't care what time that fight is. I'll probably tune in on my phone, find a Reddit stream, figure it out from there. We're hoping to have Ray from Off the Top Rope on to talk some wrestling soon. In a few minutes, we'll have him on. But let's do a little recap on the Dodgers, Padres, and Phillies, Braves. Dodgers are up 2-1 in the
Braves are going to take the lead here. Braves took the lead.
Yeah?
Yeah, Matt Olson a single.
Matt Olson single in the bottom of the 6th, correct?
Yeah, and Wheeler's still in there, so it's 1-0 Atlanta.
Oof, it just comes down to executing on offense.
Mr. Clutch, Matt Olson.
1-0 ball game. That's crucial time right there.
Oh, yeah.
I believe we have Ray from Off the Top Rope podcast on, talking wrestling every week. Hopefully have you on every week. So much to talk about in the wrestling world. I was actually zoned in on it this week. I tend not to because there's so much going on with postseason. But Ray, it's always glad to have you on. It's great to have you on. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you, as always, for having me on. And this week was one heck of a week in pro wrestling. We had Extreme Rules this past weekend, followed up by a really good Raw, and there were returns and debuts on both. So let's get into it.
Definitely. I was tuned into the Monday Night Raw. We'll begin there.
Okay.
Seth Rollins U.S. title championship, I believe.
Yes.
And that was a biggie against Brock Lesnar.
No, so what that was is right before that match, Bobby Lashley was in the ring and he was cutting a promo talking about how nice it's been that he's had some competition and whatnot. And then the Beast himself returns just out of nowhere. Nobody knew it was happening. It just Brock Lesnar's music hits. Brock Lesnar goes to the ring and he just lays Bobby out.
Wow.
Just lays him out, just slams him a couple F5s, puts him in a Kimura. Brock leaves. Seth Rollins, and it was announced earlier that evening that Seth Rollins was going to have a match with Bobby for the U.S. title. Seth comes down and in true fashion just takes advantage of it. And now we have a new U.S. champion in Seth freaking Rollins.
Oof.
Wow.
What a freaking story. And for it to happen at Barclays Center, I knew the New York crowd was going nuts.
Absolutely.
And I've been hearing it here and there that this is one of the best Monday Night Raws that you could remember in a while. The impact from Triple H going on. What's going on there?
Well, so we had, since Triple H has taken over as head of creative, and I believe now they've given him back his COO title, Chief Operating Officer. Things have changed. The storylines make sense. There's a lot less. There's still some filler because the filler obviously is entertainment, but even the filler ties into storylines. So it's not just random things. It's fantastic. I mean, you have the whole entertainment value with what's going on with The Miz and Dexter Lumis. Dexter just popping up backstage or at The Miz's house or in the inside the Gritty costume. It was fantastic. That happened earlier this week when they were in Philadelphia, or last week, sorry. And we had a celebration this past Monday on Raw where Dexter Lumis came out of a table because Miz lifted up a gift and there was Dexter Lumis's head. The stuff they are doing is entertaining. It's hilarious at times, but it's still it's driving a story. Like nothing is done without the point of driving a story, which is huge and something that was really they'd kind of gotten away from in the previous years. So we talked about Brock coming back on Monday Night Raw. There was also another return. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers, they returned onto Monday Night Raw to help AJ Styles against the Judgment Day. Now, this return is very intriguing because Carl Anderson is currently New Japan Pro Wrestling's never openweight champion. So he technically is a New Japan title holder. And it has been confirmed that he will be competing in the Tokyo Dome in early 2023. So now the speculation starts. Is this truly the Forbidden Door opening? An opening by way of New Japan? Because AEW is currently working with New Japan. WWE they have to work with New Japan because Carl Anderson is their champion, is their never weight open champion. So could New Japan Pro Wrestling have been the catalyst for a much larger opening of the actual Forbidden Door? Only time will tell with that. Also, we did see with Extreme Rules, we did see some digital exclusives put on the WWE Network. Now, Liv Morgan had faced Ronda Rousey in the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Ronda Rousey was victorious. However, what they did is they used this opportunity to further Liv's character. Liv has kind of taken a little bit of a darker turn in way of attitude. And when she was being submitted in the bicep crusher, I believe they called it, from Ronda Rousey, she was in the move on part of a broken table. So it actually looked painful. She was smiling. She was smiling. So you start to see a little bit of a different tone to Liv Morgan. We also, part of that backstage digital exclusive is Liv Morgan in a corner, sitting on the ground of the arena, in a dark corner, laughing to herself.
What?
Wow.
So she's just kind of laughing and going on. Now there's been a lot of speculation, because this is going to tie into the biggest return that we have seen in recent history, in recent WWE history, occurred Sunday on Extreme Rules. The one and only Bray Wyatt appeared. Now, the best part about that is the way that it was done. It was a fantastic main event between Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle in the third only fight pit in the history of WWE, where Matt Riddle was victorious with special guest referee Daniel Cormier.
Oh yeah, you brought that up last week,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have now introduced the WWE Universe to Daniel Cormier. They seem to have taken very well to him. He took very well to being in the ring. He didn't miss a whole lot of spots. And as the ref, he was entertaining. They allowed the mics to open up and pick up some of his banter back and forth with the refs. And it was very, very similar to, again, like I said last week, how they introduced Ken Shamrock to the WWE Universe in that submission match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart, which gave us the iconic picture of Stone Cold yelling with the crimson mask. And they also were able to do the double turn, turning Austin heel and Bret Hart face at the same time in the same match, which is really unprecedented and very difficult to achieve. So Daniel Cormier did fantastic with that. Now, as Daniel Cormier and Matt Riddle are on the top of the entrance ramp, and Cormier's holding Riddle's hand up, the lights go out. And in 5 different spots of the arena, there are spotlights one at a time, and it highlights Rambling Rabbit, Mercy the Buzzard, the Witch, Huskus the Pig. So, and of course the Fiend character. And then the door opens. Now, before I go any further, the Witch, if you look closely, if you look at the replay, the Witch is actually, she has the veil on. The mask she has under the veil is the mask that Brody Lee wore when he was part of the Bludgeon Brothers. Brody Lee, of course, being a very close friend, almost a brother to Bray Wyatt, unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago to a lung issue. So there was that. And then the door appears at the top of the ramp, and they do the bright light. The door opens, and out comes Bray Wyatt. It was fantastic. It was the absolute best way to end Extreme Rules. Fantastic. And it looks like Bray Wyatt is going to be a SmackDown, a member of the SmackDown roster. We thought that he might be going, he might kind of bounce between the shows, because of on Raw, they had stated that they were going to have the reveal from the Fiend or from Bray Wyatt, sorry, but it really was just them replaying the Extreme Rules reveal. But it has been confirmed that he will be on SmackDown this week, and it looks like he will be a SmackDown talent going forward.
Nice. No,
wow, that's really good.
Yeah, no, thank you for the analysis. Thank you for the update. Wrestling always catch the content on Off the Top Rope podcast. Thank you, Ray. Hope to see you next week on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. This is
thanks for coming on. A lot of fun stuff.
Thanks. Appreciate it. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I will see you next week.
Thank you.
A lot of wrestling talk, a lot of boxing talk, but Monday Night Raw at Barclays Center don't get much better than that.
No, Rich said it was the best show in years.
Yeah, no, immediately. I was even toned in right there.
Yeah. New York needed it for the Mets.
That's true. Need a day off just from football, baseball, went into the wrestling a little.
Yep.
We're going to switch gears here and talk a little football. NFL storylines of week 5 going into week 6. First off, Brian Dable and the New York Giants, 4-1 first time since 2009. And we know what happened in 2009. I believe they made the playoffs.
Boy, I don't think they did. I think that was I think they collapsed. I think that was the last year at Giants Stadium. The Jets made the playoffs that year. They didn't.
No. No, you're right. 2007, 2011. But
yeah, because 07 they won it all. Then 08 they won 12 games, but that was the year they lost Plexico at the end, and then Philly beat them in the playoffs, and they came out strong in 09, but it didn't last. That was a tough year. Dallas had a big year in 09. I think that's what happened.
No, Tony Romo year, I remember.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh yeah.
But going back to the Giants are second team in rushing yards, obviously because of Saquon Barkley. But
absolutely.
It comes down to what Brian Dable and this coaching staff has fomented from the top down. They're top 10 in total yards allowed, passing yards allowed, points allowed, and third down percentage. That's winning football, and they don't have superstar names that we know of across the NFL. So for them to be 4-1 in the first 5 weeks, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's more of a collective. I mean, what was that? At the end of the game, Rodgers, it could have done a Hail Mary, and they smacked it away. I mean, you haven't seen that since Strahan and Umanura were on this team. I mean, it's just remarkable what a difference a coach can make. I mean, I can't help but thinking the similarities between them and the Mets, that a lot of Met fans early on, very skeptical. Do we really believe this is a damn good team? Well, if you believed the Mets were a good team, you were right for 5 months and 3 weeks. Then the naysayers were proven right the final 10 days of the season. But the point is, who had the better summer? Those who believed in the Mets or those who didn't? And the Giants, I'd say Giant fans should be excited. They really should be, because you look at this conference, there's not many great teams. This could be for real.
Yeah, no, it definitely can be for real, and it just comes down to what they do in the division against Dallas and Philly, especially. Philly, they're a gauntlet right now, 5-0. Jalen Hurts, but we'll get to Jalen Hurts a little bit. On the other side of New York, Breece Hall had a hell of a game. 97 rushing yards, 1 touchdown with 100 receiving yards. He's 21-year-old out of Iowa State. I believe this is his first year. He got drafted in the first round. But to pair along Michael Carter, 2 running backs in the backfield like that, the Jets for sure got a win in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, a lot went right for the Jets. I mean, that meant Miami's dysfunctional right now. I mean, that Tua thing, how they handled it, completely threw him for a loop. They have a new coach. That guy doesn't look like a football coach at all. Mean, but the Jets did tough. I mean, can the Jets finish second? Can they outlast Miami and New England? That's possible. You never know. I mean, I think they play New England in 2.5 weeks on the 30th. That's going to be a fascinating game for both sides.
No, it's definitely going to be a fascinating game, and I'm interested in see what they do in the next 2 weeks. At Green Bay, that's a tough one right there. Green Bay coming off a loss, and then at Denver, obviously Russell Wilson and the Broncos.
Oh, another dysfunctional team.
They've been struggling on all aspects, but it's mile high. A lot of teams struggle at that altitude. Tough fan base to play in front of. So I think Jets Broncos in 2 weeks is going to be a tough task for them.
They could win it like Indy did, though. Look what Indy did last week. I mean, held them to 3 field goals. I think Russell Wilson himself's getting used to that altitude.
I know. No, it's a shame because they haven't been scoring anything since the season started. Honestly, 12 points in that primetime game, and I believe 10 points in the other primetime game. Like they're on primetime 4 out of 5 weeks.
I think during that game last week, Al Michaels was thinking, "Boy, I probably should just retired after NBC let me go." I don't need to sit here for this. He'll be thinking that tomorrow night too for Commanders Bears.
We'll get to that, but always got to.
Picks are coming.
Always got to rep the Bears.
Oh yeah, I thought there was a Knicks shirt you had on at
first. But since you brought up retirement, I knew Panthers fans out there wanted this guy out from the beginning. Matt Rule, he was fired earlier in the week. 11-27 in 2.5 seasons, and I feel like this was never a good mix to begin with. I've been saying it from the jump. He's a great college football coach. Yep. There's a difference between going to the NFL compared to college. The recruiting compared to the free agency, it's a totally different ball game. And he's a great recruiter. He proved it at Temple and at Baylor. Overall, he went 47-43 in college, going with the 2 scandals that were going on with 2 separate universities. So for him to do that, I definitely think he'll land a job at a university in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, you look at college coaches like Nick Saban failed in the NFL, and he's arguably the greatest college football coach. And this is a guy not nearly as heralded, so it's not a shock it didn't work. And especially their choices on personnel were mystifying. Getting Sam Darnold after he failed with the Jets was a stretch. I mean, they're only real good players. Christian McCaffrey, they're talking about trading him. They probably should think of the return the guy would give. I mean, especially if we send him to like the Giants. The Giants are already being talked about. That'd be wild.
And it's funny you say that because 5 weeks ago, going into the season, Giants fans expected Saquon to be traded down the line, and now you just see how football goes. McCaffrey could be the one, but
think of what was written about the Giants and Jets going in. You can throw those preview sections out right now. Unbelievable how it turns on a dime.
And my next point with Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. Now they 4-1 to begin season. 4-0 with Cooper Rush at the helm starting. And for him, it's like he's a game manager, but he's managing to get those wins no matter who's it against. The Super Bowl champions last week against the Rams, 22-10.
Yeah.
No one had that. But game manager, as I said, 10 of 16, 102 yards. He was feeling the pressure, 3 sacks. And he's had no interceptions since becoming a starter. And that's the biggest thing when you see with these backup quarterbacks. When they start, they struggle out the gate. He's managing the system with CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott leading the way around him.
I think when Dak went down, it was almost like, can they survive this and get out of it 500? The fact that they're 4-1, if you're Dallas, do you rock the boat and just stick with this guy? I mean, it's going to be they're talking about quarterback controversy in New England. I mean, the sun, the moon, the stars, Mac Jones, they're ready to bench him for Bailey Zappi. So it just shows you how fickle football can be and how things can change and how guys can, to steal from another sport, basically Lou Gehrig and Wally Pipp. And I mean, Dak Prescott hasn't won anything. I don't think they owe him anything. It is what it is. I mean, to go back to Russell Wilson, people forget how he got the job in Seattle. They had drafted him the same year they gave Matt Flynn this quarterback from Green Bay, this ridiculous contract. And Pete Carroll looked at 6 weeks of training camp and said, Russ is the guy. So it happens. And if Cooper Rush is it, why not go with him?
Yeah, it's a big telling tale. Let's see what happens. Sunday Night Football in Philadelphia, Cowboys, Eagles. That's going to be a madhouse in Lincoln Financial.
Oh, my God. After 2 days of Philly baseball, too. Good God.
Ricky Ricardo has a lot going for him.
That's true, our buddy.
And speaking of Philadelphia, it's only right. Jalen Hurts. Right now, league go-getter or top 3 for MVP. Tied for second in rushing touchdowns. Yes, he's a quarterback, not a running back, and he's 7th in passing yards. So the dual threat quarterback, that's what the NFL is about nowadays. You see it with Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts is developing into one of those elite guys.
And that's a per example team that was a year ahead. Nobody thought they'd make the playoffs, so they won 10 games, and he was a big part of it. They've just been proven right after the whole Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. It was Foles.
Yeah, it was Foles.
Yeah, and basically they mishandled that situation completely. Even though they won a Super Bowl, they mishandled that particular situation completely. So it's good to see them come out on the other end. They have a great coach, great young coach. I mean, who would have thought the NFC East, one of the worst divisions in football? I mean, these teams could finish with 12, 13 wins. 3 of them could finish with 12 wins.
Right now, the NFC East is so much more stacked than the NFC West. And if you told me that 5 weeks ago, I'd say no shot.
Right. It's not NFC least anymore.
Exactly. With Monday Night Football, I had to tune into this. Other than the wrestling, Travis Kelce. The stat line he had, I'm still looking at it. 25 receiving yards with 4 touchdowns. That's like Madden numbers when you're only looking for the goal line plays. That's a Monday night.
You mean he caught the ball 25 times, Robert? Because you said receiving yards. You mean catches?
No, he had 25 receiving yards with 4 touchdowns.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So basically, every time he touched the ball was a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that, Robert.
I believe. I got it right here. 7 receptions overall, so 4 of them touchdowns. Come on.
Wow,
it's incredible. And
talk about max production right there.
Exactly. During the post game, Patrick Mahomes said he's the Houdini of our era on Kelce. So it's a lot going for him, and they got Bills Chiefs this weekend, and that's going to be a must watch.
That's a good, huge rematch from that playoff game last year. And then they met in the regular season last year, and Buffalo had won that one in the regular season on a goofy. They had some rain delay or something. The game went till about 1 a.m. here, which fit because it was during baseball playoffs. It was like, okay, went as late as baseball. And then, of course, Kansas City got them in the playoffs, that wild final 20 seconds of that game, and then overtime.
No, it's incredible. And honestly, we can circle that for game of the week, Bills Chiefs, and I'm actually interested to see what Bucs Steelers has at hand, because I want to see Kenny Pickett against Brady. It's always nice seeing the young quarterbacks go up against. Honestly, that's every quarterback's role model nowadays. Everyone was watching Brady when they were young, and now to play against him in the league, it's always a good game.
That's still a tough place to go in and win. Even though they're 1-4, that's still a tough place to go in to win. It's still Mike Tomlin. It's still a good defense. Brady will certainly remember all those playoff games New England went in there and played. So, it'd be interesting. And it could turn around Pittsburgh seasons. Keep in mind, with a 17-game season, starting 1-4 isn't the death knell it was in 16.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Let's get to the game picks, honestly. Let's go for it. Since I brought up Buccaneers Steelers, I'm in the zone right now with all the point spreads and everything. Let's see if we can get Avery, our producer, backstage, talk about the game picks, go one by one. But if not, there we are, Avery.
How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
How are you?
Good. Ready to talk some football.
For sure. Let's get it started. Commanders at Bears. Carson Wentz versus Justin Fields. You know who I'm going to take, but let me get it started. The spread right now, it's a toss-up, and the over-under is 38. I'm going to take Bears at home, Thursday Night Football. I don't expect it to be an entertaining game at all, maybe 17-14, if we're lucky.
Yeah, take the under for sure. I give Chicago the edge. Washington's the worst team in the league.
I like Chicago win, but we got to remember Carson Wentz is a top 5 passer in the league right now in terms of yards. So I don't think this will be it. Maybe as boring as we think it's going to be, but no. I think the Bears are going to win by probably like 3.
Al Michaels wants a shootout after last week.
That's true. Bears Commanders ain't it? Next game on the slate. Ravens at Giants, Lamar Jackson versus Daniel Jones, and this is going to be a good matchup. 4-1 versus 3-2 right now. Ravens are -5 to begin, and the total is 45. I think I'm going to take Ravens -5. Weird spread to begin with, but it might move down throughout the week. Ravens -5 is my lock.
Boy, it's going to be a tough one. Their defense, Wink Martindale used to be in Baltimore. He's going to definitely want this one. I'd go Giants.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take Giants to cover +5. I mean, last week against the Packers in London, Packers were favored by 7.5 and then lost by 5. So should have lost by 7, but a last second safety in the last 10 seconds made it 5. But no, actually, I like the Giants to cover against the Ravens.
I think Giants are going to win the game.
There's a good chance as long as Saquon keeps going.
Yep.
Honestly, he's the guy. He's the guy for them. But the next one I got is Jets Packers at Lambeau Field. Packers are -7. Zach Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers. The total is 44.5. Probably going to go up throughout the week. I'm going to take Packers money line. So far, the Packers have been struggling, especially on offense. I'm going to take Packers money line, and I think the Jets can keep it close, especially in the second half.
That line's too high. I mean, New England nearly beat them with a third-string quarterback, and then the Giants beat them last week in London. That line should be 3 or 4. And the Jet D is damn good. I think I'd take the Jets to cover easily, if not win the game outright.
Yeah, I mean, I have to pick my Packers to win. I can't do that. But I looked at the last 2 weeks, and I like the Jets to cover. I think Breece Hall is going to give the Packers some trouble.
Good point.
Lace also coached big games there with San Fran. He's no stranger to Lambeau.
Mm-hmm.
Next game on the slate, we got Buccaneers Steelers. I mentioned it before. Tom Brady versus Kenny Pickett. Everybody's role model is Tom Brady right now, whoever's the young quarterback coming up. Buccaneers are -8. The total is 44. I'm going to take Steelers +8. I haven't liked what I saw out of the Buccaneers so far this season, and I think it would be a great game. Mike Tomlin, great coaching staff over there at Pittsburgh. Give me +8 Steelers.
I'd go the over. I think Buffalo. I think Tampa will win that by more than 8. Also, I could see that being, especially Pickett, that could be a shootout.
I like Tampa -8. I think just experience is going to win here. Leonard Fournette had a monster week last week, and I expect him to continue that tangent.
Next game on the slate, we got Patriots-Browns. Browns -3, total is 43.5. And honestly, I don't like this matchup at all for either team. But Jacoby Brissett versus Mac Jones, I believe, dealing with the injury still, so it's still up in the air.
Yeah, Mac may play.
Yeah, that's what I saw this morning. So
yeah,
we'll see Sunday, but give me Pats +3, depending on if he plays or not. I'm still going to take Pats +3, and if he plays, I might do Pat's money line just to get me some more money.
I agree. I think New England, you can take New England easily in that one. Their defense is superb. Look what Detroit's not a great team, but Detroit entered with like the most touchdowns in the league. They shut them out. It was at home. This is in Cleveland, but Cleveland's a disaster right now.
Yeah, I mean, go piggybacking off what Jason said, the Lions going into last week were the #1 offense in the NFL. Granted, they were the number 32 defense also, but the Lions offense was clicking and clicking hard until they ran into New England. I like New England to win outright. And the over probably too.
Good point. I feel like a lot of people are going to be betting the under, so that's a good over game. Just look at the public percentages before Sunday.
Zappy had 23.
And it has to be the must-watch game. You got to lock in once it starts. Bills-Chiefs, rematch of the AFC Championship. Bills -3 total. Oh, AFC divisional round.
Felt like the championship. That's
it felt,
for sure.
Yeah, it felt like it.
Should have been.
Wasn't it the championship the year before too? This is 2 straight years they play in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yep.
New rivalry.
Right now, the line is set at Bills -3. The total, it's going to be high. It's 54. Could go up throughout the week. And my lock right now, give me the under. I like the under on this because I feel like everyone, 9 out of 10, is going to be betting the over. So it's that common saying, fade the public.
That's a gamble, Robert. I mean, these are just explosive offenses, but you never know. You get 2 explosive offenses, and those defenses are slouch. Especially look at Buffalo with Von Miller now. I'd go under.
Yeah, I think Buffalo's defense is electric, but Kansas City's defense has been suspect for the last couple of years, and they haven't gotten any better. We've seen bad teams with bad offenses put up 35 a game. I think 54 is just about right for these two. I could see the over hitting. I like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen probably throws for 200. Diggs probably has 120 of those.
Honestly, I feel like that's the highlight reel every Monday morning. It's Allen to Diggs.
Oh, sorry. Or Gabriel Davis catching 3 passes for 200 yards. Sorry. I sat him in fantasy last week. I was so mad.
You heard it in the voice. There was some anger in there.
That was personal.
Next game on the slate, Rich's Cardinals versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I know he has nothing happy to say about the Cardinals, but so right now the Cardinals are -3 and the total set at 50. I'm going to go with the Seahawks +3. I like what Geno Smith has shown so far this season, and honestly, no one would have had him going like this even a year back. So for him to make an impact with DK Metcalf on that team, it feels like they're a rebuilding team.
Yep.
Good for Geno Smith. Give me Seahawks +3.
That's a hell of a comeback story by Geno Smith. I mean, this guy was dead to rights 5 years ago. I mean, and then you look at Arizona. It's funny you think early December last year, Arizona was the best team in the NFC. New England was the best record in the AFC, and they both fell apart in the last month. But the thing is, New England appears to be showing signs of coming out of it. Arizona. This is 3-14. Here we come.
I like the Cardinals to win this one. Riz, you said the line was at 50.
No, the line was at 3. The over was at 50, I believe.
Over unders 50.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, I like the under for this. The Cardinals defense is okay. They got JJ Watt back. He's a big focal part of that defense, just in mindset and how they conduct themselves. And Arizona, they like to play stingy football until about the last 2 minutes.
That is true.
Oh, I didn't play it right. I'm sorry. I'd go the under 2.
Yeah, under 50 should be fairly easy.
Yeah.
We got Sunday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys at Philly Eagles, I believe. Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles, and the spread right now is -6 Philly, and the total is 42. I expect that total to go up throughout the week, but give me
that should be 50,
right?
Yeah,
definitely give me the over 42, and I'd sprinkle Eagles money line in there. I don't think they'll get the win by more than 6.
I'd take Dallas to cover easily, and if not win the game outright. Same as we talked before. I could see Cooper Rush going in there very methodical. I mean, they won in LA last week. I mean, they've won at the Giants, they've won in LA, they've won everywhere,
Yeah, I like I got the Giants now.
Sorry.
I like Philly to win. They played Minnesota Vikings in week 2 and held Justin Jefferson to under 50 yards, which nobody else in the league has yet to do. I think the Eagles will lock down CeeDee Lamb. I think they'll figure out Cooper Rush. I think the Eagles are going to win outright.
Good pick. We got Monday Night Football. Chargers, Broncos. Yeah, honestly, Chargers, Broncos. Russell Wilson versus Justin Herbert. Chargers -5 right now. Total is set at 45.5. Honestly, 45.5 might seem like a lot to me, but give me Chargers -5, and I'm gonna go with the under.
Well, I'd say Chargers the over because I could see them putting up 45.
Yeah, I like the Chargers in this one. Broncos lost 2 defensive starters last week to season-ending injuries. I believe they lost a defensive back, and then I think also one of their middle linebackers. They lost both to ACLs. They're done for the season. That defense is suspect. The offense, we don't know what is going on there. But yeah, I like the Chargers -5.
There we
Avery,
go.
I have a question for Avery.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me? Russell Wilson looks old.
Yeah, he looks older than Aaron Rodgers does.
Yeah,
and I don't know what his issue is.
The saying "Let Russ cook" ain't working in Denver.
He's only 32. I mean, Brady's got 13 years on him.
It's funny because it's just like ever since the finger injury from last year.
Good point, Robert. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a finger injury. I think it's when they didn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch on the goal line.
We're going that far?
Yes.
They never went
you
back.
can take a look at last week. What are they doing throwing the ball on fourth and 1 on the 9?
I didn't think of that because it's a different franchise.
Kick the field goal. Take the points. I would rather have a tie than a loss. Twice on Sunday and every other day of the week.
You know what Denver should have done? Denver should have tried to get Pete Carroll to come with him. What a mistake. They go again, another just nobody coach out there.
I believe he was out of the Packers coaching staff, Nathaniel Hackett, correct?
Well, that's not exactly a great coaching tree.
Packers offensive coordinator last year.
Yeah, not a great coaching tree out of there.
No.
The next few picks we're gonna do, it's gonna be quick and simple.
Sure.
We got Vikings, Dolphins. Vikings -3.5. The total is 45. Give me Vikings -3.5. I can't go wrong with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook.
I agree.
I agree also. And Miami's starting a rookie quarterback this week, so
Yeah, you got me there because I didn't even know the name of the third string quarterback.
Neither do I. That's why I was a rookie quarterback.
But the coach doesn't either, that guy,
Yeah. So we're all in the same boat.
Yep.
Next
I could take Minnesota 9.5.
Yeah. Just triple it. Next game we got 49ers, Falcons. 49ers are -5.5 with the total set at 44.5. I like Falcons in this +5.5.
I like Niners. I think Tampa exposed Atlanta. The final score was a lot closer than that game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't think Riz has watched the 49ers game this year yet. The
Bears Niners I did in week 1. So
the
that
49ers
counts.
have an excellent defense.
They do, as always.
-5 or whatever it was for San Fran. The Falcons without Cordell Patterson aren't much.
That's true. No, Cordell Patterson's the main spark, and Kyle Pitts, honestly. But
Is he going to have 0 touchdowns again this year, but be hailed as a top 3 tight end?
Let me guess. He was on your fantasy roster.
No.
Okay. I heard the anger again.
Everybody, they put him on a pedestal because he's this physical specimen. 0 touchdowns.
Bengals Saints. Right now, we got the line put at -2.5. The total is 43. I like Bengals in this -2.5. I just don't like what I see out of the Saints as of late. And overall, Joey Burrow and Jamar Chase.
What uniforms are they going to wear in that game? That's gotten the most attention with both clubs.
That's true.
I like the Bengals white that was clean.
Yeah, it was cool. I would, and especially if they could wear the white helmets to match this year, that they now have the second helmets. I'd take Cincy too.
I do like Cincy, and I am going to take the over here. Saints have a lot of hurt offensive weapons, but Chris Olave has proven himself to be an up-and-coming star in this league.
Definitely. He's actually the only Latino drafted in the first round. Catch my article on Latino sports. I wrote about that a few weeks back.
There it is. Shameless plug.
Had to plug that in.
Why not?
Jaguars Colts up next. -2 for the Colts. The line is 42. I like Jags +2. Trevor Lawrence versus Matt Ryan. Not much going on the Colts side. And Jonathan Taylor, I believe, is still going through that injury. So Trevor Lawrence and the Jags +2 for me.
I would take the under. Needless to say, after last week with the Colts, so they'll only get about 7 points. Take the Jaguars too.
Yep, Jaguars +2.5. The fact that the is it at Indy?
Yeah, I believe it's at Indy.
Okay, that's why they're favored. I was like, how is Indy favored in this game at all? No, Jags +2.5. Put the house on it.
That's not much of a home field advantage. We're not talking about the frozen tundra, you know?
I think home field advantage, the spread for Vegas is usually -3.
That makes sense. Probably was more years ago.
Yeah.
The final game on the slate, and it's not a good one. Panthers Rams.
Oh,
we got the Rams set. We got the Rams set at -10.5. I believe that's the only line with double digits this week, and the total is 42. Honestly, I just don't like double-digit spreads to begin with. I'm gonna go with Panthers +10.5. New head coach. It's an interim head coach, obviously. So maybe a different guy in that clubhouse gets it going.
I think they said this about a boxer or some team. You don't want to get them after a loss. I wouldn't want the Rams at home after they lost to Dallas. Rams in the over.
Yeah, I'd like the Rams to win this one. Does Baker's hurt, right? Is he out this week? So no Baker, no Sam Darnold.
Nope.
Oh, Sam's hurt? Boy, that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Rams against whoever they're going to put under center for the Panthers.
If it's 10.5 now, it will probably grow. And whenever it gets to 13, I'll probably put the bet in. Because
before I forget,
it's going to grow.
I was going to say this before about Matt Rule. Remember when Giant fans were lamenting that they turned him down?
Nope.
Won't say that anymore.
They made the signing of the offseason so far with their head coach because
and GM. It was both
GM,
of them.
Yeah, both coming from Buffalo, Joe Shane and Brian Dable. And the impact within the first 5 weeks, you just see it right then and there.
Yeah, takes 2 because they made a colossal mistake when they kept Gettleman with Joe Judge. If they changed GMs, maybe Joe Judge would have worked. It's a big unknown.
We don't have a video for this, but I wanted to discuss it with both of us, all of us here. The Devontae Adams incident on Monday Night Football. What a freaking mess. He got charged with aggravated assault, I believe, this morning.
Yeah, misdemeanor aggravated assault.
And charged with it, and he's fined a certain amount and could face up to jail time. I don't think he'll get the jail time, the fine definitely, but just a terrible act to begin with. Terrible apology in the post game. That can't happen in sports, and we deal with it all the time. Just seeing the players up close, never get in their way, and when you do, you always just try to be as quick as possible and just get out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, and also we talked about this off air before the show, ironically. So I'm just going to reiterate to you guys. Basically, it's like we know this from covering games. Basically, you always allow stuff between the players, what's in the game. It's very hard. I mean, like I remember years ago, Pedro Martinez and Don Zimmer, when Pedro knocked Zimmer down, it was like, oh, they should have charged Pedro. That's within the game atmosphere. They're each competitors. This is a case of photographer. That's a private citizen. That's an observer. He's not part of the game. Like we're not part of the game. When we're covering them, we're bystanders, you know? So, I mean, what if a Met pitcher decided they were going to throw a ball at us, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't happen.
And God forbid, I just saw the symptoms. It was a mild concussion at most, but
could have killed him.
Anything can happen. A concrete tunnel like that on the ground is probably cold at that time of night.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he's okay. And NFL is just storyline after storyline. We see it.
Oh, could have killed him.
Yeah. No,
in all
definitely.
seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
I understand being upset because you have a terrible coaching staff and going for 2 for no reason. But there's no reason to do that. I mean, it was the same thing back in the day when Ron Artest jumped back in the stands and started beating the heck out of the Knicks owner. I mean, there's no reason to physically assault somebody else.
No.
Right.
Just period.
Yeah. Unless they're a fellow player.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's not assault, it's within the game.
Exactly.
You know.
What was it? There was another game where there was a big scuffle on the sidelines and like players were like throwing hands on each other within their own bench. Do you two
for football?
There was an NBA player that stomped on a photographer years ago. I'm thinking Rasheed Wallace in Portland. Same thing, because the photographers, they put them right under the hoop, or at least they used to.
I never liked that because it could lead to so many injuries, and we see it here and there with the basketball hoops, how close it is. Too many people surrounded, and it takes one guy to fall randomly, and
and that's where you're talking about 7 feet players, and you're right, it's problematic for everybody involved, which I think is why they cleaned it up a little. But that's the first thing that came to my mind is kicking a photographer over.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, I kind of want to piggyback off this. I don't think we actually touched on this today. Did either of you two see the coverage of the Draymond Green Jordan Poole fight in the Golden State Warriors practice?
Yeah, what a freaking mess to begin with. And obviously, a shove is fine here and there, but to throw a punch like that to your teammate, that is a total no in all of sports. It doesn't matter what team, what sport you play in. And to have the video surface, that's a huge no on whoever sent that out in the Warriors organization, because that's something you keep in-house so the media doesn't have to deal with it, and it's not the number one story throughout the whole week. And for them to do a press conference after, it's just it feels like the NBA, especially in the last year or so, it's more storylines and drama off the court than the actual action happening on the court.
And to think the other finalist, Boston, they suspended their coach a week ago, and that story just keeps getting worse and worse. Having an affair with his assistant, a female employee of the Celtics, and then now this with the team who won it all, a team that really has had a sterling reputation. But this has been the one. This is the one guy that does have a sterling reputation in that group. And the longer Golden State keeps him, you're just going to see stories like this. That's on them. This is a ticking time bomb with that guy.
No, definitely. And we've seen it with dating back to the Kevin Durant time in Golden State. So it happens like every 2 or 3 years. So let's just see what happens this week going into the season. I believe it starts next week, just like that. Yeah. Time freaking flies.
Oh, yeah.
I think you could maybe see Draymond Green off the Warriors next year just for all of his locker room and in-team antics with other players. It seems like he can be buddy-buddy with Stephen Clay because, those are both Hall of Fame guys, but I feel like if anybody else, steps on his toes the wrong way, he's swinging at him.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, it's
maybe that's why they released it. Maybe it was deliberate.
Yeah, that could be.
But whoever it was in the Warriors security team, my man got a check from TMZ. He got a check
from TMZ. Sports with Rich. We're talking everything sports, not just basketball, football. We went around the horn with basically everything tonight. But
We did.
We're going to take one more commercial break and have a quick wrap up, talk a lot of what's going on across the sports world, and then we'll go from there.
Lock the door and keep your eyes shut. The lights flicker, there's evil all around us. No one's safe from the nightmare. Cold sweat, so scared. Someone get me out of here. They say you better be afraid. The night's coming like fire from a hand grenade. There's no escaping tonight. It's coming alive.
Back with Sports with Rich, Wednesday night. Well, we got 10:05 on the clock,
Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time. Braves, Phillies going on, Dodgers, Padres going on. Don't think we forgot about all the postseason going on. We're gonna check right now what's going down. 3-0 Phillies and 3-0 Braves.
Braves.
In the bottom of the eighth. Just like
and Met
that.
fans will be glad to hear this. It's 3-3 in LA. The Padres are doing it tonight.
That's a big matchup, and we'll
Yeah.
tune into that. For the Braves, Matt Olson got the single to score 2, to score Acuna, Austin Riley, RBI single, and Travis Arnaud, RBI single. So, as we were saying before, it's not just about the home run ball. You got to have a blend of everything going on.
Travis Arnaud had 3 RBIs yesterday.
See? Just like that. And former Met.
And interesting, I was thinking about this yesterday. Can't just blame the Mets for letting him go. When the Mets let him go, I think it was in the 18th season. He was in Tampa. And I remember at Yankee Stadium, he had 2 home runs that night, but they let him go shortly thereafter. Then he ended up in LA. Lasted maybe a week or two there. Maybe I'm mixing the order up, but the point was the Rays and Dodgers both passed on him. And then he went to Atlanta and it worked.
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up because no one else brings that up. They always say him going to Atlanta from New York, but no, it was Tampa and LA first. And that
2 pit stops, excellent teams that didn't
exactly that movement around clubhouse has definitely impacted him into the player he is today.
Yeah, chip on his shoulder, but in a good way.
Oh, definitely. Now let's begin with Fordham football. Now they're hot. They just won 40-28 versus Lehigh, 3-game winning streak. The quarterback Tim Demritt, 26 of 37, 499 passing yards with 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
I feel like every Tuesday and Wednesday when we do this show, we're talking about this kid throwing for more than 400 yards. That's how elite he is. The offense is moving. It just comes down to the defense. They've been giving up at least 20 to 25 points a game. But the biggest matchup is going to be Holy Cross, who's 6-0 right now. And it could be a matchup first and second place. And that matchup will go down Saturday, October 29th. So mark your calendars.
Wow. That's like the final, probably the next to last regular season game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, most likely. I'm hoping to be there, but who knows? If the Yankees are still in, we're gonna be hectic and busy.
Well, it's bigger than the college football game at Yankee Stadium on November 12th. Let's put it that way.
That's true. Honestly, no one wants to freeze their butt off during the.
No.
I did the Pinstripe Bowl one year, and I won't do it again. It's too cold in December and January. Whoa. Now that we're on college football, it's only right. We got to talk Alabama and Nick Saban. The last 2 games, obviously, they have the wins. They're still undefeated, but I've been seeing a little flaws here and there with the defense, especially when they verse top caliber opponents like Arkansas and Texas A&M the past week. Those conference rivals, those big games going into it. 26 allowed against Arkansas, 20 allowed against A&M. It's just something you don't notice from Alabama in recent years. And when they get to that college playoff, it could be a telling tale that they're going to give up a lot of points.
They fell to number 3 off that win against A&M. And the poll I post every week on BrooklynDigest.org, the FWAA National Football Foundation is like the writers poll. It's different than the AP poll. They were number 1 for like 3 weeks, and they dropped them to 3, as I believe the AP did also off that. So Georgia retook number 1 and Ohio State's number 2. I think that's right. I think Alabama, something's missing again.
No, definitely. It feels like something's missing. And right now, Bryce Young's dealing with the shoulder issue. And they face Tennessee. They face Tennessee, a feisty Tennessee, and right now the spread's -7.5. And honestly, you don't see Alabama lines within single digits. So
That's
just
true.
for that going in with Bryce Young not fully healthy, that's going to be an interesting matchup on Saturday.
Is Alabama favored, Robert?
Yeah, Alabama's favored -7.5, I believe.
I'm looking at it right now. It's a 3 against a 6. I mean, I think Tennessee deserves more respect than that.
Yeah, honestly, like Tennessee's been playing great. They've been matching up with the opponents given to them, and they play great home and away. It's not just a home field advantage. And I believe the game, let's see right now, the game for week 7, Alabama at Tennessee. So
yeah, 3:30. So that'll be the CBS showcase.
Yeah, so it's a home game in Tennessee. Let's see how Alabama comes up. But
yeah,
they faced Texas in Texas and had some trouble. It was 20-19, I believe, that final score.
Correct, and that's the one Young got hurt in. And I mean, Alabama, even though they made the title game last year, they really weren't a perfect team. They lost the game. They played at A&M last year. They lost that one on a Saturday night, and that took them out of the #1 ranking last year. So it's interesting that A&M didn't win this year because it was a home game and they only won by 4 points. It still dropped them in the rankings. So Alabama doesn't have that invincible look that they did like 2 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. They don't have that, like you said, the intimidating look. It's just something. It feels like Georgia took that look from them, although they struggled in the last game or so. But that's Georgia. Like, they're going to be down to the wire in December, and they can give you 35 points and give up less than 10 points.
Clemson's 4. Clemson had an off year last year, but with Dabo Swinney, that wouldn't. You figure that wouldn't last, So I could see Clemson overtaking Alabama.
Definitely. With Clemson and the ACC, they'll run it, but it's just going to come down to, like we see in that semifinal. That's when the stakes get high, and going into the championship weekend, I believe first week of December, right around there.
Yeah, exactly. That's almost as big as the playoff. The playoff a lot of times is terrible games.
I know. We had Michigan, Georgia, and Georgia.
God, this is over it. People were worried. Oh my God, it may go to because it was on New Year's Eve. It may go near midnight. Don't worry, you could get to the early part of your dinner.
You can just cut the TV off.
Easily get to your party.
On a similar but different note, it is football, but a different football.
Football.
We're talking soccer. MLS playoffs right around the corner. NYCFC finishes 3rd in the Eastern Conference with 55 points. Philadelphia Union finished in 1st place, and CF Montreal finished in 2nd place right now. And first playoff matchup for NYCFC versus Inter Miami, October 17th at 7 p.m. on, I believe that's a Monday.
Monday night, yeah.
Breaking news, it was scheduled at Red Bull Arena, but now it's at Citi Field.
Correct. Yeah, it came out yesterday. Michael Lewis, who was a very esteemed soccer writer, he had it yesterday. The team sent the official release out today. Yeah, the game will be at Citi Field. So, yeah, more. I can't even go through with the joke. Yeah, playoffs at Citi Field coming.
I know. It's Mets last weekend at Citi, now NYCFC at Citi. A lot of playoff atmosphere going on.
Because that's why it was originally put at Red Bull. MLS probably looked at it. I'm surprised from the MLS perspective they didn't just leave it at Red Bull, thinking of like the other team, because it's such it's a soccer facility. I'm shocked the league didn't just. This happened before with NYCFC. The league has stepped in, or if they've been in one of these other tournaments with CONCACAF or whoever, they've stepped in and said, no, you'll play it at Red Bull. So I think the fans are lucky that one's at Citi Field. No,
they're definitely lucky. And if I was a fan like that, I wouldn't want to travel to New Jersey for a home playoff game. You're the defending world champions, and you don't have a home field. And for a fan to have to travel at least an hour with that commute, where that stadium is,
I did a Red Bull playoff game there on Monday night. It drew nothing. It was very sad. Very sad, because that's a dedicated fan base. I think they barely drew 10,000. Tough time.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful stadium.
It is.
It's just terrible to get to. Terrible location and parking.
Terrible. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, you and Rich barely even made it in for game time one time. Was so bad.
Yeah. No, it was that bad.
Or you take the path like I do, which that's not fun either.
No, either way, it's a tough path.
Middle of nowhere.
And going back to NYCFC versus Inter Miami, they tied the series one apiece. NYCFC won 2-0 back in July. Miami won 3-2 back in August. So let's see what happens on Monday. This could be it right here for NYCFC's season in their defending of the MLS championship.
Yeah, there'll be something. I mean, and of course they're doing it without their coach from last year. Their coach left in June to go coach in Belgium or something. So there's a lot of same players but different coach. That could come. That could be a factor.
No, definitely. They lost their coach and they lost their main superstar, Valentin Castellanos. So let's see how that playoff experience from last year translates to this year without their main guy.
Yeah.
We started this segment with Fordham football. We're going to end it with Fordham basketball because the A-10 basketball conference is out. We're talking everything basketball, college hoops. We'll be covering Fordham throughout the year. And the A-10 Media Day, I believe, is tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, we'll be there.
You're planning on being there. Rich will be there. I will not be there. I was hoping to be there, but I just can't.
Rest up for Yankees later.
Yeah, I'm hoping they play, but if they don't, it's going to be an early morning on Friday. But with Fordham hoops and A-10 specifically, I love this part of the season because it's all about projections, and it's never right. You can go back to the projections every year. Last year, Fordham was projected to finish last with everything in the A-10. And they finished 8th, advanced to the quarterfinals in the tournament for the first time since 2007. So that's just the way college hoops is, especially when we get to March.
And to look ahead, the reason the media day is in Brooklyn, the media day is generally wherever the conference tournament is. It'll be the first time that the Atlantic 10 tournament will be at Barclays Center. They've had the ACC there the last couple of years. It'll be the first time the A-10 is there since 2020. And really, we know what happened in 2020. They played one day and then they shut it down when the world shut down. So basically, it'll be really good to have the A-10 back full blast come March. That's a fun tournament. Everybody should go to that.
No, definitely. All the New Yorkers out there, buy your tickets. They're cheap tickets. You guys should go. It's a lot of energy. It's a fun time. I was there.
Basketball. Better, almost better than the Big East, most of those games.
No, it's a lot of action, close games. I covered A-10 tournament down in D.C. in March, and just seeing Davidson, Richmond, St. Louis up close, these teams, they're elite on both sides of the court, and the A-10 should get recognition compared to all the other big-time leagues out there.
The only thing I'll say for the ACC is it's funny. The A-10, I mean, it's funny. The A-10 doesn't get much attention, but it's weird how the ACC was in Brooklyn. It didn't get as much attention as the Big East. It's so goofy. Like, it just goes almost by the arena, not the basketball, which is unfair.
Exactly. I remember that because the Big East was at the Garden, and the ACC tournament was at Barclays. Big East tournament at the Garden, it's sold out every night. There's empty seats at Barclays.
Yeah, Coach K's farewell, nobody cared.
It's insane. With the A-10, I'm very interested. Obviously, Fordham will be covering here and there throughout the season. I'm very interested to see how Loyola, Illinois transitions into the A-10 their first year going in.
Right, yeah.
And Davidson is a force to be awakened with, honestly, because every year they're in it. And
Davidson has a very famous alum, Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping he'd be there again in the A-10 tournament because they were versing the Wizards during that same week.
Wow.
Didn't get lucky, but, dude, Davidson, year on year, they're elite. Same thing as Dayton. Even Richmond pulled off an upset. They advanced to the tournament finals last year, I believe.
Yeah.
So little things like that, that's what makes college hoops so exciting. That unpredictable factor, and no one knows what they're talking about when it comes to the projections.
No, a lot of them don't pan out. I mean, unless it's like, Duke and North Carolina will be number 1 and 2 in the ACC. Wow, boy, a lot of years that's a real leap.
Yeah, exactly.
Kentucky's going to be good. Wow, who knew?
We're just about wrapping up Sports with Rich on our Wednesday night. Before we wrap up, we're going to do one more update with Phillies, Braves, and Padres, Dodgers. The Braves are up 3-0, and they just took the victory. Tied 1-1 in the series. 3-0 Braves on 4 hits and 3 runs, and held the Phillies to 3 hits alone for the shutout. So little things like that. That's a huge momentum shift going into Game 3. And go into Philadelphia, those fans are going to be wild up.
Yeah. Atlanta won't be phased out, though. They're going in one. If they went in down 2-0, maybe. But I think that was a huge win for Atlanta. And to do it in under 3 hours, what a game.
Yeah, no, I thought we were gonna get some of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I thought we'd watch it before our broadcast here, but
But
you know,
because the
whatever.
rain for 3.5 hours.
3 hour delay. And it's funny to talk about that. They give the American League teams the day off today, and they wasted a beautiful day in New York City. And then the Yanks could face a lot of rain tomorrow night. So the league didn't exactly. The league, I think my theory on it was the league tried to get cute. They probably thought, okay, we'll give the Yanks Tuesday, Thursday. We'll slip the Mets in Wednesday. Well, Mets weren't here, so that plan went to hell.
No, that plan went to hell. And Coppola brought up a great point from before. He brought up that they didn't want to bring their Game 5 against NFL's Week 5 on Sunday. So for them to have Game 5 on Monday, that's why they wanted to do that, I honestly believe.
And there's no travel day between
Yeah.
games 4 and 5 for the Yankees in Cleveland. That's insanity.
Yeah, it's all down to MLB lockout and how much they screwed up, and it's just a smack in MLB's face. They look bad.
Yeah. It shows you who runs the sport to give a day off when the teams are in the cities. It's just insanity. It should have been 2 straight days, all 4 games. It's a unique situation. Maybe another year you don't have to work in time. I mean, it's already October 12th to just frivolously have days off. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested to see what happens tomorrow. If they do cancel the game, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever set time you want to do, Friday afternoon. I just want to see the crowd, what it's going to be like, because a lot of people work on Fridays, and for 1 o'clock to get to the stadium, I get it, it's playoffs, but it's going to be a weird atmosphere for sure compared to what we saw on Tuesday night.
One big reason they lost to Detroit in 06 was they had Game 2 rained out. And then they came back the next day. Verlander pitched. It shows how long he's been there. And if they played at 1 o'clock on a Thursday, I think there were only 40,000 there.
Yeah.
So, it could be a factor.
They get, like, even on Tuesday, they had over 47,000. And it felt even more crowded outside. That's how much of a madhouse Yankee Stadium gets, especially in October.
Oh, God. I remember going in 95, Game 2, get up there about 5 o'clock, 3 hours before the game. The plaza outside the old stadium, which was smaller than the one outside the current stadium, was beyond jammed. I mean, nothing like it up there.
And with our other series going on right now, it is Padres-Dodgers, obviously. 3-3 tied up, middle of the 5th inning right now. Let's see at the stats for the pitchers. We talked about it. Machado homered, Freddie Freeman homered. Yu Darvish, 4 innings pitched, 5 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts with 1 walk.
Looks like Kershaw's done. Dave Roberts just gave him a hug.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm looking right now. Machado got another double. And,
wow.
And if Machado's hitting, Padres could do it, but I don't think they'll beat the Dodgers. Maybe force Game 5.
Oh, they get it back for Game 5. That would be a hell of an achievement.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you're beating the Mets was such a huge step over the path for the Padres. It took a lot out of them, and you see it now going up against a gauntlet. But they're proving it. It's Game 2, and they're in it. You know,
that's the thing. Met fans wouldn't have. You always want to see the team that beat you go on. They didn't want to see them show up in LA. 12-2, 14-1, and then back in San Diego 8-3. You want to see them in it.
No, definitely, and that's the way baseball goes. It's like you can never predict it. That's what Coppola said. That's what makes this game fun, because whatever prediction you put, it's gone the next day.
And even within the game, we saw Edwin Diaz come in the 7th inning on Saturday night. And it was the first time he came into a 7th inning since 2020. I had to look it up. I thought it might have been one of those 7-inning doubleheaders. No, he came in the 7th inning in a game in Atlanta. So it's like he pitched the 7th and 8th. Atlanta didn't hit the bottom of the 9th. So that's a superb example. Edwin Diaz, 7th inning,
Yeah, and Trent Grisham homering back-to-back nights, Scherzer and DeGrom. No one's calling that.
And those home runs at Citi Field were all bombs. I mean, it wasn't like they left field. Most of them hit those 2 rows that they added when they moved the fences in and ended the Great Wall of Flushing. A lot of those were crushed way over. They would have been home runs in 2009 at that park.
No, definitely. It's been a great night.
Yep, a lot of fun, Robert.
So much we talked about. I feel like we hit on every freaking note. Soccer, football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, boxing, everything in between. It's always a good night with Sports with Rich on the SLG Network. Always like, comment, and subscribe. Catch all my content on Latino Sports. Follow me on Twitter, RobertRiz994, Facebook, Robert Rizzo, Instagram, RRizzo4. And as always, keep it in the ring. I want to thank Billy Capola for appearing on our show. I know we had some issues here and there, but that's the way it is. And
We
thank
pulled
you.
through. We got
Exactly. Thank you to Ray from Off the Top Rope Podcast for joining us, giving us some wrestling updates.
All good stuff.
Always good stuff with Ray. And we'll have Rich back next Tuesday. I gave him the week off. He deserved it, just the way it's got to be some weeks. And thank you, Avery, behind the scenes. And special thank you to you, Jason. Thank you for co-hosting with me tonight. You were awesome.
My pleasure, Robert. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rich, for giving me the chance.
Now, as always, keep it in the ring. See you next week. God bless. Hopefully the Yankees keep on winning and we get that crash course with Yankees Astros.